Boys, Anzac Day footy, one of the best Anzac Days in recent memory across both codes. We're going to chat Rugby League Round 9, AFL Round 7, plus a massive NFL Draft wrap-up. Bryce Young to Carolina with the first pick. No head-scratching there, pretty much consensus, but then some interesting ones through the top 10. We'll have a look mostly at the first round and have a chat about our teams. Plus, he's leaving on a jet plane to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers confirm is a Jet. NBA playoffs. Bye. Milwaukee Bucks. Hurt Giannis didn't help. Jimmy Buckets gets the heat through. We'll chat all things NBA playoffs with a massive Game 7 tomorrow our time between the Kings and the Dubs. Cricket, IPL, plenty of runs. Lucknow scored 257, if you don't mind. 700-odd runs as well from Sri Lanka against Ireland.
Wild.
EPL, I think City have wrapped up the league. Pretty disappointing from Arsenal at the Etihad. Plus a big final round, UFC 288 preview. And the F1 is Baku, baby.
Yes.
It's back in Baku. Some sort of joke there about the Azerbaijan capital. G'day, this is On The Esky. It's a sports podcast where we like to chat our Aussie sports, but also have an interest in the wider world of sports. We have timestamps. You can skip to the sports that you'd like on the YouTube or the Spotify. Please consider checking us out on the social media platforms. We like to start the show by shouting a beer. Shauno, who are you shouting a beer this week?
Well, I think it's well-deserved. West Tigers will shed a beer to the whole team and the coaching staff. It's finally happened. After, I think it was 270-odd days, they have finally won an NRL football match. Over a year for Luke Brooks, but they've done it. And not only they've won a game, but they did it in style, taking down the defending double champions in the Penrith Panthers, 12-8 in their game. So I think it's well worth sharing the beer after copping a couple mops in the last couple of weeks. They probably deserve it for some beers. And I assume a fair few beers were had post-match as well.
Yeah, we sort of put them on the end of the Mop of the Week segment that we like to also start the show with, just for being a bit of a mop of an organisation.
For a month, yeah.
And in great sort of Tigers fashion, they go out and knock off the defending premiers. They did beat Parramatta twice last year. It is a bit of a Tigers thing to do. But rest easy, West Tigers fans, this weekend off the nudie run for the year.
Yeah, and I can't wait for them to put the dagger in the back of Anthony Griffith's career with the Dragons next week.
Stop it.
That might have happened this week.
Yeah, that's if he survives the week.
That is true.
We'll get into that later.
Boys, I'm going to shout a beer or, other kind of legal substance that's up there in the mountains in Colorado. Sean Payton, the new head coach of the Denver Broncos of New Orleans and Bounty Gate fame, was seen on draft night ripping a big fat one. I assume with his kids, or he's just hanging out with some, teenagers.
Just some random college.
He's on the recruitment drive.
Ripping bongs, Laramie Tunstall.
How else are you going to get those undrafted free agents? So
ripping fat ones, it seems. Now, they've made the news. No one really seemed to give too much about it because it is completely legal up there in Colorado. So maybe he was just going, yep, I fit in well up here with the mountain people, and to show his solidarity, sucked on a big fat bong.
Yeah, I can't wait for bong rips sessions at the training camp this year. So let's go.
Maybe we should start a podcast once. We struggle to talk as it is. I don't know if that would treat any of us too well on this table.
We've probably
Not
become
too
more
sure about that
sophisticated
one.
knowing us.
More sophisticated. Let's leave that one to the imagination and maybe no science involved.
Jimmy on the end of the table?
Yeah, would you like to share a beer or a bong?
Yeah. I'll keep it to beer. Yeah, I'll keep it NFL. I'll keep it on the topic of draft, which we'll go into a little bit more depth later on. But this week I am going to draft.
Yeah,
Well,
you almost did.
Yeah.
I'll give him a draft beer. Jake Moody, the kicker for San Francisco. So kickers have a special place in my heart. Obviously Tampa Bay drafting Robert Aguayo a few years back now. Roberto. Did I say?
Roberto.
Yeah, there you go.
You gotta say it at the hands, bro.
That's it. No, Jake Moody going in the third round, pick 99th overall to San Francisco. So just a funny, cool little story. You very rarely see kickers go so early. I think we were looking at some of the numbers earlier on in the chat. I think last time, besides Roberto, who was it? Sebastian Janikowski back in
2001.
Yeah, was drafted in the first round, pick number 17.
17th pick overall, and turned out to be a pretty good pick. They went to the Super Bowl the next year. Janikowski's in the Hall of Fame, so good on your Raider Nation with that one.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm going to shout a supplemental one as well this week. Just saw earlier today. So Chris Vaughan, scout for Dallas Cowboys in the 6th round. He had the honour to call up his son, running back Juice Vaughan, and ask him if he wanted to come to work with him, father-son style, next week, because Dallas Cowboys picked him as running back. So cool little story there. Obviously, with the draft, you always see these like little happy moments and all that sort of stuff. So just shout a bit to them as well.
Yeah, bringing the juice to Dallas.
Very wholesome content there, and obviously we do see a fair bit of father-son gear down under here in the AFL draft system, but pretty rare for there to be any kind of father-son involvement there. So enjoy being a Cowboy juice and working with your dad.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare to me personally. But all right, mop of the week. The Memphis Grizzlies are gone, and one of their villains in Dylan Brooks has had himself in the headlines this week. Shauna, you got the story?
Well, can you pull up the quote for me? So I think it all stemmed from Game 3. After Game 3, he was directly quoted. They were asked about the role he'd done on LeBron, and the main point was, I poke bears. I don't respect no one until they come and give me 40. I pride myself on what I do. Jimmy, I'd love to see actually you sent it in the chat. Or was it Michael that sent it in the chat?
I can get the Instagram. Yeah, there's a bit of slapback from the king.
Yeah, following that quote, the following match LeBron went for 20-20, so 20 points and 20 rebounds. So
first Laker to do so in the playoffs since the Shaq attack.
Yes. And, Shaq also, I think, pointed out that, that's 40. So that was, one number 40. And then, of course, they lost the series in their last match by 40 points. So another 40 there. But on the flip side of that, Brooks played pretty terrible and posted these comments as well. I'd seen the Brooks unders multi doing the rounds, scoring unders and points, assists and rebounds. And, he had been pretty terrible. He's off contract. I think it's pretty well known that he is Dunskies.
I think he'll be playing for a different team next year.
Oh, definitely.
Possibly.
Definitely.
The King said, if you ever see me fighting in the forest with a grizzly bear, help the bear.
Especially if he looks like Dylan Brooks.
Slap back, King.
That's too
Lakers go through. Grizz, second seed. They actually weren't the highest seed to miss out. We will talk all things NBA playoffs in the NBA segment.
It's quite interesting. Those, as we kind of alluded to for many, many months, those middle teams, if they could sneak into the playoffs, those elite big threes can really do some damage come playoff time.
Now, we won't go a soundbite here because I think we're going to talk both codes on Anzac Day.
He could press both buttons at the same time.
At the same time.
Go for it, Jimmy.
Do you want to press both at the same time?
Let's do this.
See what happens. Yeah, what actually happens?
It plays over. It's like go one.
Ready?
It wasn't too bad. I'll take it.
I'll get the timing right next week. Or maybe next Anzac Day.
All right, boys, let's start at the G. Nearly 100,000 in there. One of the biggest crowds in regular season footy ever. And the Bombers, they held a lead for 3 quarters, but the Pies getting the job done by 13 points. Max, did you see much of this one? You poor fella. Bombers and Dragons fan down the end here.
That's it. Again, Bombers, as you mentioned, led for the first 3 quarters, and then, the Pies just ran away with it. Nick Dacos just had an absolute ball of the last quarter, just absolutely smashing it through.
Is he odds-on favourite for Brownlow as well?
Yeah, do you want to chase that up?
Yeah.
Because he was $3.50 to win the Anzac Day medal, which is obscenely short. And
Also, excellent value.
in hindsight, that's $3.50 every dollar. Had 40 and 2 crucial goals in this one. Was pivotal in the fourth quarter and in the Pies running him down. We were talking about it during the week. I thought, oh, geez, he might be the youngest ever to win the Brownlow. But I think a young Gavin Wanganeen was younger in the early
19,
90s. Was 19. He was only 19. How about we have to chase up today's posies, actually, because that game's just finished.
Yeah, they won by 1 point. I'm
Really?
doing it for you.
The Crom.
Yeah, lost by,
Wow.
the Pies won by 1 point.
How many did he have? Because he had 220 disposals through 6 games.
I was just about to read out his brother's stats.
So J-Day was sitting above him, wasn't
yeah,
he?
he got 31. He got 27.
Tagged.
Yeah.
Quiet 27.
Yeah. Yeah, his brother also got a goal and one behind too. So had to share it.
Hot pies.
Crom though, we'll talk about them later. They're definitely competing with the top end of the ladder at the moment.
We will talk all things Aussie rules in about half an hour. Let's jump over to the league.
Before we do that, Nick Dacos, $2.50 favourite for the Brownlow.
Short in week 7.
Yeah, the bond is at $6.
What's Clary? $6.50.
$6.50, yeah.
Yeah, right. Jess Cameron, 12. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to be not even 2 months into the year, and a 20-year-old is that short to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Let's head over to Sydney for Anzac Day. There was a sellout there at Allianz Stadium. Probably the best Anzac Day clash that I've seen in recent memory. A couple of Dragons fans here. Probably a bit disappointed with the result, but you can't question the fight.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this because didn't they usually play this at their SCG? So when did they actually switch it to the...
Yeah, so whilst they were building the new stadium, they've been playing at the SCG, but then traditionally as well, I think there was a lot of SCG clashes. Obviously, there wasn't a football stadium pre-mid-80s. So
and that's a shit place to watch a rugby league game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that's like the majority of New South Wales Rugby League finals were at the SCG. Yeah. And in those days, no big screens, you would have been on your dad's shoulders or getting the binoculars out, or
well, I think
trying to push through the cigarette smoke to see anything.
They did pack them in those days, though. So
yeah, pack the darts in, didn't they?
Yes.
But no, right you are. So I think last year was back. No, it wouldn't have been because it opened end of last year. So it's been SCG for a number of years before this.
So that was kind of my point, is maybe why this clash felt so much more improved over recent years. Was maybe the having the crowd a lot closer and a bigger crowd in as well might have added to that fact.
The bigger crowd, definitely, yeah.
The Dragons, though, they do step it up on Anzac Day. Just couldn't quite get the bickies in this one. A Luke Keary field goal.
They were really lucky because, it was almost 26-6. But they got that try denied and then scored straight back afterwards to make it 2012.
And then there was a sin bin,
yes.
which I don't think... And this is coming from a bloke that really has red and white eyes painted on. I don't see a world where that Victor Radley head clash for mine was a sin binning.
Yeah, I think if you watch it, the initial contact head follow through with shoulder. So I don't think there's a world where the shoulder did not contact the dude's head.
So you think it's justified?
So I think, one, yes, he's got priors, so that's probably why they sat him down. But also, the lot of it was high. So even the angle of his shoulder, like where his shoulder was in line with the head. So in today's NRL, that's head high. I think
Pryor shouldn't do anything. I can't believe I'm arguing for a Chooks player getting thrown in the bin.
Did you see the Warriors?
But Pryor shouldn't have anything to do with the on-field. That's when you go to the judiciary.
True. But you see the Warriors, they had a garbage bin and say Radley get in the crowd. So that was good. I thought
Oscar the Grouch kind of gear.
If you're talking bullshit sin bins, I think the one today in the Bulldogs game with they're fighting over a ball strip, that to me was an absolute shit sin bin.
Both against the Dragons. and didn't win either game.
Yes. So I think that was worse than this. That angle doesn't show it. I think it's the angle where not even that one. It's the other one This
There we
one,
go.
because if you, of course, didn't load Jimmy's beautiful internet.
It cuts.
Yeah. It shows like
Terrible video.
I said, the initial contact on head and then shoulder follow through and shoulder contact chin. That's how high in this year's NRL that's sin bin sit you down. So, and Radley's just been on the end of a lot of them, which takes, I think he's tallied to 9. So.
Which is an NRL era record. Robbo came out after the game and said that Victor's being unfairly targeted here by the referees. Do you think there's any truth in that statement, or do you think he has a problem with the way that he plays the game and in his tackling technique?
It's probably
have a case for both sides, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy on that. Yeah, like his intense style probably leads to these kind of mistakes. Like he's trying to lay some punishment down, but then also because it's him, those things get scrutinised and it's like, oh, it's Radley again. All right, see ya.
Start getting a bit of a name.
Yes, yeah.
A bit of a Jared Warrior.
Yeah, swinging up Hardgraves, exactly.
Feel about
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, they're both in the same team, so maybe it's a tricks thing.
And I was just sticking up for it. What's wrong with me? We spoke at length about Sam Walker being left out of the side in the preview. Joey Manu, doesn't really matter what number he wears; he's pretty destructive.
How did he do today? Because no Sam Walker again today.
Yeah, so he played
lost.
6. They won. They won, and
in the wet game.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't really compelling viewing. There was a lot of rain over there in Kiwi land. Just a quick shout out to Tautau Moga. He scored a hat-trick on Anzac Day, some brilliant finishes, and had the breakaway try, which made this game really interesting. But he hurt his shoulder, so I think he's looking at a pretty lengthy stint on the sideline. The later Anzac Day game was the Storm and the Warriors. The Warriors were up 18-6 just before the half. They actually completed nearly 90% in this one and lost. And it was big Nelson Asofa-Solomona who came on off the bench and pretty much won the game for the Storm, although having a guy called Harry Crown and Cam Munster always helps. And the Storm continue their really good run on Anzac Day. Probably the big talking point for Warriors fans is the return of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Yeah.
You go.
And the continuum of rugby and Rugby Australia, and Rugby League Australia, Australia Rugby League. Sorry, it's the other way around.
We got that.
The back and forth between the CEOs and that, and their comments in the media about, they might as well call them boomerangs because they come back.
Hilarious.
Yes, yeah. Beautiful take from men that really should be have more important things to deal with. But
COVID was pretty fun. To be
it is.
To be honest.
I think rugby's loving it.
We're relevant.
We're in the media. Woo! Because Payne Haas has been the talk in the recent weeks as well.
A lot of money. Reportedly $1.5 million.
And Nelson as well.
Wow.
Nelson was very close to signing to go to rugby, but decided to stay. So. And there's course a lot of, if we're talking code wars, there's been a lot of conversation about, well, rugby league only gets you so much. Like, it's very centralised to Australia. Mm-hmm. You play rugby, you could tour the world. Mm-hmm. So, there's that aspect as well, especially with a World Cup not too far away on the horizon. So some of these guys are definitely interested in it, and they pay more money. There is that to it. But RTS is coming back. I don't think there was a spot for him in the All Blacks, going kind of like a cemented spot that he was kind of like a fringe guy, all playing off the benches.
Well, he's been playing a bit of the centre. Again, we don't watch a lot of rugby, so not really sure. But I think he'll be in the Rugby World Cup squad for the All Blacks. I just don't know if he'll start. Can you chase that up? The last few...
But that World Cup's next year.
No, it's not. It's the end of this year.
Oh, it's the end of this year.
Yeah.
I was thinking of next year. Too many World Cups.
There's an Olympics next year.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Also huge rugby fans here, big caveat. But really love it.
But he'll probably come back and play probably centre for the Warriors. The Warriors are a bit over field with fullbacks at the moment, with Chance and Martin already in the team. Though Chance is the one and Martin's playing 6 but hurt at the moment, so...
I think it's...
More stocks, it's all good.
It's pretty much confirmed that he's going to come back to play centre. Which is massive, The bloke's a Dally M winner.
Yeah, well, he is the best, arguably the best fullback in NRL when he
especially left at the height of his powers.
Yeah.
Has he been playing much for the All Blacks?
Well, he'll play out the season with the Blues, hoping to make the All Blacks squad for the World Cup.
How many caps has he got?
Caps
I feel like he was no certainty. So
he's played 3.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so not a lot.
All last year, yeah.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. But that wasn't the only big signing news during the week.
Well, there's a lot bigger story, really.
Yeah, in an NRL world.
Dominated the back pages all week. Jack Wighton, after a lot of speculation, has put pen to paper to join South Sydney. 3.3
to play in the centre.
To play in the centres, yes. $3.3 million over 4 years. That's roughly $300,000 a year less than what the Raiders had offered him. Is there a problem with the salary cap and the way that it's implemented right now in the NRL, Sean?
Well, I think the dinosaurs would like to think so.
Yeah, Kenty definitely didn't hold back on 360. If anyone still watches that,
yeah, but him and Ricky thick as thieves. So anything Raiders related, he's on Ricky's side, no matter how bad it is. So I think I guess the player, it's a player contract. It's an individual kind of decision that the salary cap kind of has no impact to that. So I get the thinking, if he was going to South to play 6 and they'd only paid him 700 when everyone else was paying over $1 million, then that's not fair market value. But as a player, he's made the decision to
take a pay cut.
Yeah, not play that position, play a different position, and take a pay cut, but also probably be one of the highest paid at that position. So
the back end of his contract, he's looking at 900 in the season to play centre. There's not many. Who's on 900? Maybe Val Holmes. I don't know if there's a centre.
I don't think Val's on that much
in the NRL. That's on that much money.
Yeah. And then I was trying to think of who else is. Who's our best centres in the league? It's kind of unfortunately a bit of a forgotten position because. A bunch of fullbacks end up playing in those positions come rep footy time. That the centre kind of gets forgotten about because I think Campbell Graham maybe.
Well, the bloke that he's going to go play on the other side, is definitely a shout. Dane Gagai is very very consistent.
Yes.
Definitely lifts.
But I wouldn't say he's the best centre in the NRL.
No, probably wouldn't. No.
And then your Stags gets thrown around there.
Justin Olam's pretty handy.
Yeah, who's the Sharks dude as well that had the big year last year?
Talakai,
that's the one. They kind of get in the conversation, but they kind of, always get beaten out by the Turbos and the Latrells going to play in the centres over top of them. As the example. So say Jack go there, I think you could very quickly become the best centre in rugby league, but going back to the point of the salary cap, if he's going to be that spot and getting paid 950, which is probably top money for a centre, then it's probably market value and there's not much you can do about it. And as long as South can fit him under their sombrero, then I think it's okay.
How funny they moved their headquarters over to Maroubra. They start encroaching on Chook's territory. They start employing Chook's tactics with a lot of money to throw around at these players. 1 through 7. There's not a better team in the league, is there? Really, like Lockie Elias for a young kid, he's been playing pretty well. But it helps when you have that kind of cattle around you, doesn't it?
Yeah, good forward pack, great spine, and I think currently, what are we, 10 rounds in?
Yeah,
I think they're favourites to win the comp.
Yep. The Raiders actually said they want an investigation. There needs to be an investigation. It's going to be interesting to see if anything actually comes about that. I highly, highly doubt it. Hard for the Raiders because you lose your best player. All the sort of infighting with players and players' wives last year with Ricky and the whole sort of divorce with the English players. It's going to be they're well and truly into rebuild mode now, aren't they? And Ricky didn't really mince his words this week, did he?
Yeah, not at all. And it was a pretty big and important game as well, winning Golden Point over the Finns. But it actually kind of showed the emotional side to it. I think Jack really loved the club, loved the boys he plays with. And
he was in tears after the game.
Yeah, I think Ricky
was it
understood
14
that.
years he's been with the
it's his whole career.
Yeah, his whole career. Like they probably tried to do everything that they could, but Jack very clearly just wants to win a comp. So,
and that's where you feel for the players because the way that the media works and the sort of the Australian public, the comments section,
to sell papers, get clicks,
the general rhetoric, you're doomed if you do, doomed if you don't.
Oh, exactly.
You take the money at Canberra and people say, oh, he's on a mil, 1.1, and he's not playing like a 1.1 player.
Yeah, he gets their Anthony Milford trip.
Yeah, exactly. They're using too much of their cap on him and blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, well, you take the unders and go to try to win a comp and do, the sort of less...
Tom Brady thing.
That's right, the less self-centered thing and the more team-based thing. Oh, you're a dog, you're leaving Canberra, you're not going to be a one-club man, blah, blah, blah. It's, I don't know, it's a bit gross really, isn't it? These... At the end of the day, it's their career. Like,
yeah, I feel
I don't like obviously, and I'm not a Raiders. None of us here are real diehard Raiders fans.
no,
Sean sort of chops and changes.
the old man's hardcore.
And maybe it's different if you're a fan and you're heavily invested in the team. But from an outside,
the
person looking in,
the social
and
media abuse has been
that's so uncalled for, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like, and I'm going to say maybe 15 years, maybe since 2010, kind of. Era, maybe even since Cheating Storm, the NRL media is always been on the like it's attack. It's always attack. There's never like a decent beat up about how great the off field, like the community work the guys are doing, whatever charities.
No one cares, man.
No.
That's the thing.
Well, especially Australia, man. I comparing it to like what the Yanks do, and you see it with their, the Walter Payton medals and, the amount of effort and the show, the support, what their players are actually doing in their communities, compared to what the NRL does is like, it's just like everything that's bad, we've got to pump that up to 1,000, even if it's a small thing, let's pump bad headlines out.
Yeah.
Because
the soap opera of the NRL.
Yeah, well, because that's, for me, it feels like it's the only right way they think they can make money and get, clicks and views on all the stuff that they're doing. So, yeah, I kind of get the shits with a lot of NRL TV related shows because they kind of dribble to me. So if you want to watch some decent dribble, watch us.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what we're here. But
aside from us, Matty Johns is all right.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But you can see the difference though.
Yeah.
You can see the difference. Like, comedies gets actually players turn out, they're involved in it, they get the interesting kind of stories that they're doing, jokes sort of stuff.
They get the players' side of
they get more of like what they're actually doing instead of like who bashed whose misses on the weekend, and that probably needs to be reported on. But they just going after attacking them constantly.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, the rise of new media in the rugby league hemisphere. And, obviously we're just a small sort of podcast, but you see Denenkamp and the stuff that he's doing. Yeah. Hello Sport, full credit to the boys. It's maybe a bit of a product of younger people don't want to listen to, Buzz and Kenty and Gus Gould and the like, and when it's all just negativity based.
Yeah. We can't play footy like it's the 80s or 90s anymore, unfortunately.
Anyways, as a, Dragons fan, don't really have too much of a dog in the fight. Wishing Jack all the best with his South future. And, look, 1 through 7, name me a better team.
Yeah, if they don't win the comp next year, I think it's a failure of what they're kind of been trying to do. But I guess as Giannis was saying during the week, it's just another step in the progress. They got to work their way to it. So, but they put all their cards. They've put everything they could into winning a comp, and let's see if they can do it next year, or even they might win it this year.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
They'll defend it next. But they're well in their window. They're well in their big window at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know why we got the double, but anyways.
Another try going over.
Let's get us into the round 9 wrap-up. There was a few big upsets, but Thursday went pretty well to script, although I didn't think the Cowboys were going to get belted as bad as they did. 44-6 down there at PointsBet Stadium. This is two teams that are in very different circumstances after finishing second and third last year. Sharks still looking pretty good. Cowboys not so much. Nico Hines wins the inaugural Paul Green medal. He gave the medal and his jersey to Paul Green's kids. So a nice little touch there.
He's a legend.
Yeah, legend. Good bloke in the game. Spoke about having maybe a mental health round. I think a lot of people get behind that.
If they don't pick him for 6, I'll be very, very disappointed. But I also will be very, very grateful because he is so good at the moment.
And Queensland fan down the ends there. I think he has to play Origin. Yeah, it's just a matter of, is he playing 6? Is he wearing 14? How, you can't not have this bloke. He's the best player in the comp.
Yeah.
So he has to have a sky blue jersey in a couple of weeks' time. What about that man you mentioned before, Big Seal Sif with Talakai? Mm-hmm. He's got 9 try assists on the year. He actually crossed over for his first meat pie in this one. Try assists a little bit funny. It's depends on the source. So few are stating about 9, few are stating about 7 because they're the centres and some of them are just like a quick little tap on to the winger. I think Bulatalo's got 9 tries outside him.
Well, he did have one of those quick tap-ons in this one, but I guess it kind of the intentional tap-on, I think he should be counted as a but again, try assist to a winger,
Anyways, some are stating 9. That's what we're reporting. He's got 9, which is pretty crazy for a centre.
Cowboys on the flip side are very much in struggle town. I think the side's kind of broken. We kind of talked about the Big T, Talamalo. No, I fucked that up.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good try. Was playing pretty average, and I think it came out that he had to have knee surgery. He's going to miss a couple of months, so that's probably a reason why he'd been playing unders. But I think the Dragons are probably happy the Cowboys have been playing so poorly because otherwise next week will be the toilet bowl with the 2 bottom teams in the league. Currently with the Cowboys just behind them because they've played the bye. I've gone back to it. I don't know where the Cowboys go from here. They're watching some of that game, just looked like they had no enthusiasm to be a part of the contest.
It gets worse for the Cowboys as well because Jeremiah Nanai got cited for a hip drop.
Did you get a 3-week offer, I think?
Yeah, I think that you'll be able to chase that up. I think
someone was going to get more
3.
than that. I think someone was going to get 6.
That was on Braden Hamlin, ULE 4 matches.
4 matches.
It wasn't.
Does that mean he misses Origin 1?
Good question. Yeah, you'd think so.
Get close.
Because there's only 3. It's end of May. It's going to depend if there's a buy in there or not.
Means...
Does it say it in the article?
He'll next be available round 14 after game 1 of State of Origin.
Yeah, it's big.
It's rubbed him out. Probably the best prospect last year.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit quieter this year. But.
Well, the whole Cowboys team's playing quiet. So. Yeah, I think going that Queensland side will be heavily Brisbane and probably a few less Cowboys than usual.
What about Hamlin Uele, who got wrapped up in that hip drop tackle, pegs the ball, and he seems fine there, and then the trainer comes around.
He's stumbling a little bit,
He's
like it's
more
stiff.
than I thought I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's just...
Is he okay?
No, he's out.
Okay, so fair enough. Then
Back up. We'll miss the next month.
MCL? That looks like an MCL to me.
I just got knee here.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm trying to remember the report. It wasn't ACL. It was one of the other ones.
Yeah, it was MCL.
I was teaching you boys the anatomy of the ligaments 2 weeks ago, but no, I think that looks like a PCL, bro.
No. I didn't say. I was trying to remember what the report I saw, whether it was a P or an M. It was P or M.
That's sciatica, bro.
Watching this live, I didn't think it was.
Everything's a Liz Frank, right?
Watching this live, I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think he landed as much on the back of the leg as I thought.
It's very innocuous.
But he just gets it in a bad position.
It's a little bit unlucky.
It is unfortunate.
It's a weird world that we live in where that's 4 weeks. And of course
the hit drops they're going after it hard.
Yeah.
Did I send you that thing of Blocker, Steve Roach, during the week on 360, and he's full just going, I don't even know what a hip drop is. I'm like, Blocker, I'm with you.
Actually, did you see Albo today came out and said that we need to clarify what a hip drop is and to remove the uncertainty in the adjudication?
Who said that?
Abdo,
not Albo.
I was like, Albanese.
Abdo.
He's hung off partying with Cole Sandler.
Albo, yeah.
I was like, that's kind of cool. Elbow, I know he's a big South fan.
Abdo came out and said that.
And Albo came out and said that
today.
Ricky Short, fuck off, we got you, boy. You're a weak-gutted dog. Here on the podcast.
Yeah, so Abdo was saying that. So kind of clarifying what we were saying in previous weeks is, the NRL lives in the grey area. It's super grey at the moment, and they've even acknowledged the fact that yes, it is very, very grey. Where we need to work on it. So, Magic Round next week. Please don't fuck it up.
Yep, I'm with that.
That's it. It is hard though because Hamlin Ueli is out for the next month or so.
Yeah, 2 months
So
easy.
how do you still got to does the punishment fit the crime? I guess
You can't start.
It's so hard
It's
to.
a slippery slope
Yeah.
if that's the way.
I'm actually. I was thinking that I'm really surprised at how many leg injuries are coming from hip drops this year. And then I thought maybe it's because of the focus of the hip drop. We're kind of realizing that there is actually a lot of leg injuries that come from them. Because every like this one, yes, we're seeing a hip drop. And it has resulted in a significant injury. And if you look at the case of a bunch of the hip drops have resulted in lots of injuries, especially to the knees and the lower legs. So that's why we can understand the reasoning, the actual adjudication of what is and isn't a hip drop is they're still learning, and I guess we're round 10, so we've got another 16 odd to figure it all out.
True NRL style.
Yeah.
Sean's thinking, then I can talk about some fucking
I can't wait until this is all done and it's fucking August and we start talking about fantasy and NFL.
Friday night, it's a great night for footy, and Parramatta convincing winners against Newcastle, 43-12. Mitchell Moses very good in this one. With bit of Origin chat. It's time. Jermaine Hopgood, resident Queensland fan. Is there a spot for him on the bench, do you think?
Hard to say, but with the Cowboys playing unders, maybe there's some spots. There's gotta probably have a look at that Dolphins team as well. Is there anyone from there that's could fit in? I was actually interested to know if Ray Stone was a Queenslander or not, because I love his gritty attitude that he plays.
Embodies the Queensland spirit.
Exactly. But I'm not even sure he's a Queenslander. So
Monks would chase that up.
I think
I'd be very no hate against Raystone. I'd be very surprised if he plays Origin this year.
No. But I've there's been talk about Corey Horsburgh, whether he gets.
He might play Origin.
Yeah. So with the Cowboys
he's from Moss
Vale.
Vale. Fucking up the road.
Yeah.
That's New South Wales.
I was there today.
Yeah. He's definitely can't. You never know. We'll figure it out. He'll be Queenslander.
Moss Vale. That's in Queensland.
Yeah, did you write that? When you were 13, did you write that on the paper?
Oh, that's so funny.
Well, I didn't know. That's why I was asking the question. That's a general question.
That's in Queensland.
Because it's hard to tell with the Finns team with where they've recruited from and who's from where, being a new club. But my point being, with the Cowboys playing unders, the guys that played, in the second row and the front row from the Cowboys who played Origin last year, maybe some of those guys get bumped for guys that are playing better elsewhere.
Concerns around Kalen Ponga. Had missed a few games and then comes back and had 8 missed tackles, couple of errors. He did not look like one of the highest paid men in rugby league, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, if you've had 1,000 concussions, I think you'd be a bit hesitant to make some tackles. So
too soon, bro.
Yeah. Well, he needs to learn to not tackle with his face is probably step one. Whether he plays in the front line as a 6 long term going forward will be interesting.
Remember last year, but as well, Ponga wasn't lighting it up for Newcastle, and then he goes out for Queensland and plays absolutely out of his skin.
It could also be a product of Newcastle being Newcastle. So he's got a couple of weeks to get back in that battle, and otherwise, I think Reece Walsh will probably Nicky's spot.
Yeah, I think Walsh has to be in that team.
Yeah.
The way Broncos have been playing.
Yeah, it's just probably a discussion of what number has he got on his back.
Yeah, but then do you think maybe does Ponga play 14 and unfortunately Benny Hunt, who's playing in a pretty shit Dragons side, does he miss out? Because you think of size-wise, Ponga gives you, he's in that Jack Wighton kind of mould. He's a bigger dude that can play a bit more spots.
I think Hunt's actually more solid defensively.
I'd also tend to agree. And having watched today's Dragons game, he's still very much trying to do absolutely everything and carrying the team. Yeah. It's.
I'd be very surprised if Hunt misses out.
No, I'd agree. You know, I was just thinking if Walsh plays one, and I have to try to fit Ponga into my team, 14's probably the only other spot, and that's probably cemented at the moment with the Harry Grant and Ben Hunt combination.
Mm-hmm. It's a good little segue actually into the Broncos. Bit of a reality check for the top of the table Bronx. They were missing Payne Haas and Ezra Mam, who, surprise, surprise, got suspended for hip drops. And poor Corey Oates, who did his PCL in that win over Parramatta, was his first game back after a nasty jaw fracture. Yeah. So another long stint on the sidelines for Corey Oates. South look pretty bloody good. We got to talk about that bloke, Campbell Graham. He scored a hat trick. He had 151 metres, 7 tackle busts. I think he has to play Origin. I think he has to play Origin.
Yeah, well,
you got there. Is he going to play as a centre?
Yeah, well, it's the Star Wars meme. It's just like you got to pick him to play Origin as a centre, bro. As a centre.
Natalie Portman gear.
Yes.
Shout out to any Star Wars / Natalie Portman fans.
Yeah, there'll be more of those, I think. But you know, the joke aside, the point was New South Wales, you know, loves to pick a guy out of position, and I guess you're kind of saying like, yeah, he'd be a winger. I think with Daniel Tupu getting injured as well, he'll probably miss game 1. Fox out, missing.
It's Toto and Campbell Graham.
It's Toto and whoever else you want to pick. And Campbell Graham is the leading try scorer in the league, I believe. So, yeah, why not? But it's a bit unfortunate, you know, best centre probably in the league at the moment, and he can't even get a centre kick.
Play on the wing.
Turbo is managing, I think, a hamstring injury. So
I think it's adductor now. Ooh. So it was hamstring that he was having.
Did he play the full game today?
No, he didn't play at all. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know,
he was a late scratching. So it will sort of depend on how he's tracking along with another soft tissue injury. It's a bit concerning.
And then I guess the question is, well, do you push if Turbo misses? Do you then play Graham at 4? Graham in the centres, or do you bring in Staggs or maybe Matt Burton maybe into that kind of role?
I don't know. It's
be interesting. Yeah. Well, when we get closer, we'll talk more about the scenarios and who's healthy.
Not far. No, not at all. Latrell Mitchell also very good in that one. South, maybe the best team in the comp.
Do you think Cody Walker should start having some Origin conversation again?
I'm going to say no. I think he's playing very well, but I think there's just
too many ahead.
Yeah, that would be my thinking there. Let's roll into Super Saturday. So we sort of just mentioned it with the Jack Wighton stuff. We won't harp too much more about that. But the Raiders did get a scrappy 31-30 win there in Wagga. They were
10,000.
Yeah, and in pouring rain really out there in the Riverina. So 18 zip lead. The Finns, love the wet weather, obviously.
Love a comeback.
And comeback Kings nearly getting 2 in 2 weeks. Got to talk about Connolly Lemu. He had 2 tries, 147 metres gained there for an edge back row who essentially no one had heard of last year.
Yep.
And Jamal Fogarty getting the Golden Point field goal to seal the deal for the Raiders. Did you catch much of this?
Yeah, I saw the end of this.
What are your thoughts?
I think it was a pretty good contest. I kind of felt the Finns were always going to work their way back into it with a bit of ball and possession. They had a lot of it in the second half. They had nothing in the first. I think they said the Bromwich, not the brothers. Is it Jesse that plays front row?
Yes.
He had 2 runs for 17 metres in the first half.
Wow.
Because they had no ball, essentially. So, the Raiders kind of dominated possession. It swung back the other way. They got back into this contest. And it was a good, close football game. I think the interesting part at the end of it was not a single Raiders player had ever kicked a field goal in the NRL.
Really?
Yeah, so that was Fogarty's first. So to do it, in a Golden Point game, in a kind of a bit of an emotional game, it ended up being pretty special.
Yeah.
Manly sort of shit the bed at home against the Titans. No Tommy Turbo. They tend to not do too well when Tommy Turbo doesn't play. Young KO, I think that's how you pronounce it, Weeks in there at fullback. Maybe looking for a KO sponsorship. It'd be right. Different spelling, of course. Your mate, Dave Fafita, he's pretty good in this one. And Titans pulling up one of the big upsets, not the biggest of the evening, but one of the bigger ones of yesterday.
Did you see the rumours floating around about Kyle Flanagan having an immediate move to Manly? And then there's some rumours about Josh Schuster.
To play what?
6.
Schuster
and then there's rumours of Schuster being moved to Wests.
Interesting.
To cover, I guess, Adam Dewey. I think Buzz kicked it off with the Kyle Flanagan chat because it sounds like he's pissed for being dropped again. No love, no body in his corner, essentially. But anything I could find of it, Gus was essentially denying it and kept denying it on his Twitter feed. So there was no official word on it, but there might be a little bit of smoke there that a bit of movement in the halves for those fringe Sydney teams at the moment.
Poor Cooper Johns, he's been pretty good when the games that he's played, and maybe they bring in another one, but we'll keep an eye on them. At this stage, just rumours.
Yeah,
it's all rumours.
News reports is that Kyle rang the Dogs and said that he's staying. There's nothing.
Yeah, nothing in it.
Nothing in it, so, yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Well, it came from somewhere, so...
Where there's smoke.
Yeah, we'll have to...
There's buzz.
Yeah. Him and Sean Payton.
Bung and a blitz. Saturday night, Panthers.
Yeah.
All over in Bathurst. The Tigers. You shouted them a beer. They've fucked how many people's multis, how many people's tipping. I don't even want to think about it, but I am kind of happy that for West Tigers fans, long-suffering West Tigers
Get
fans.
off the donut.
Off the nudie run, getting a win here. And they played... I was at a wedding last night, hence being in, the region of Raystone's upbringing.
Football career.
They played mistake-free footy, essentially, and that's how you're going to beat the Panthers. Completed it over 90%. Defended well, obviously. And we've got to talk about young Jareem Buller. Not Fijian, but anyways. He's looking pretty good at fullback, so they might be onto one there. It is only 2 games in, and the Tigers forward pack actually really stepped up to that Panthers pack who normally dominates week in, week out.
So what, he's going to play for West next year and then be...
Yeah, probably gets snapped up.
Or South
If the last few years are anything to go by, guys like James Tedesco and Ryan Pappenhausen, who I also believe were Tigers juniors.
Yeah, I still can't believe they had Harry Grant on loan there as well.
Yeah, mate, the ones that got away, the great white buffalo. Great white buffalo. There's a few great white buffaloes over at Tigerland, but good on them. They get a win, and us two Dragons fans here are kind of shivering in our boots.
It's going to be a big round.
The rhetoric in the first 2 months was, we're playing a bit better than people thought we would, and thank God for West Tigers that might come to bite us in the arse.
Yep.
Today, Chooks get a sloppy win over there in New Zealand, 14-zip. No Sam Walker, again, Joey Manu, pretty good. The Butcher brothers, 100 tackles between the two of them in a meat pie for one Butcher. So was it Nat or Egan that got the
Nat?
Nat got the meat pie. Yep. I had this on in the background, and mostly a function of the weather, not the most scintillating viewing. A game I didn't have on in the background. I had it in the foreground. And
tears rolling in your eyes.
Yeah, pulled out a little bit more hair. The Dragons have lost 4 games in a row by a meat pie or less. We just spoke about Kyle Flanagan, so he did get omitted. It's been in, out for the young 7. Much like Australia in COVID lockdowns, the last few years, in, out. Josh Reynolds comes in. He plays 6. Matt Burton to 7. Burton looked pretty dangerous with a 7 on his back. I don't think it matters really what number you put on that bloke's back. A little bit of a scuffle just before the half, a leading sort of elbow maybe from Josh Reynolds. Zach Lomax didn't really like it. And the Dragons are probably pretty lucky that the score wasn't more in Doggy's favour at the half, 10-4, and then
intercept try.
Doesn't help. Yeah.
Well, that was their only score in the first half.
Yeah, and old Jakey Avarillo, 3 games in a row where he scored a double against Dragons. Loves playing against Dragons. Bit of soul searching, and I suppose the big story throughout the year is how much longer does Anthony Griffin have as being the man there at the Dragons. We said, before Anzac Day, that was going to be a really big litmus test. You go out there and get belted on one of the biggest days on the footy calendar. Yeah, maybe Hook's job might have been in jeopardy, but they played very well on Anzac Day, obviously not coming away with the win.
Which I think saved them, but then playing a pretty ordinary, scrappy game. And
they look flat. I think it's hard to back up from the occasion that is Anzac Day.
Mate, I don't want to say it's not flat. I just don't think they know how to score points. It's basically give it to Ben Hunt and hope he does something. And if it doesn't work, throw it out to Salone and hope he does something. Other than that, they've got nothing. It just it feels like they whatever their structures in their structure at the moment just aren't working to turn into points. So, they need Ben Hunt brilliance or some offloads or something like that to try and get them into scoring spots. He seems to be doing it all.
They do play the Tigers next week. That is the first game of the Sunday triple header in Magic Round.
What did you think of Kerr signing to go back to Dolphins?
Yeah, a bit of a coup. Josh Kerr's been pretty good for the Dragons in recent memory. Has made a few of those Indigenous All-Stars teams. Quite silky with his skills for a big man. I think it's interesting from the Dolphins' perspective. It seems
they seem to be loading up and
forwards.
Edge back rows,
middle forwards seem to be pretty good. Yeah,
it might also be cover for the Bromwich brothers.
We're going to. You'd think at least Jesse will retire in the imminent future.
Yeah. So
Kafusi's not that not a spring chicken anymore.
So you've got a Kerr coming across. You'll have Tom Flagler next year. So I think they'll have.
It's a pretty handy pack.
They'll have a good pack. So they're signing blokes left, right, and centre. And since they missed out on Jack, they still got $1 million to throw around at someone.
Do you reckon this will start a mini exodus for the Dragons?
I've been fearing that for a while.
I was, considering some of the conversation we had a month or so ago about guys not wanting to play for Dragons. There was some chat about, because what's the Bulldogs coach's name? Serraldo used to work with Anthony Griffin at Penrith, I believe. Did they overlap at Penrith? Either way, he was an assistant of Griffin and had a falling out. Basically didn't rate him, just said, I don't think he's a good coach. And, left essentially.
Right.
So, a bit of that made the media leading into this contest. As their first games against each other as head coaches, etc. I wonder if there's a bit of that. That stuff doesn't help the perspective of the culture and the camp they've got over there, the Dragons. If you're say like the Jack Wighton, use that as an example, and the Dragons come knocking on your door, it's like you got more cons than you do pros. So I think
screen the call.
Yeah, and it's people don't want to sign to come play in Canberra, and unfortunately Wollongong kind of fits into that as well. A lot of the guys don't want to play in Wollongong; they would rather be in Sydney. So it could be a bit of a challenge for the Dragons going forward.
So that's where I as a Dragons fan go, bro. You play half your games in Sydney. It's pretty much Sydney. It's just an hour up the road. It's actually you've seen the beaches down there. Wollongong Golf Course, quite nice.
Exactly. I tend to agree with you. If I'm a young fella, I'm looking to get an opportunity to start somewhere, then you pick your opportunities, and if the Dragons is one of them, then go for it. But then also it's just like, I'll play a year there and South's come calling. It's like, see ya. So, it'll be interesting if Hook gets sacked, what Ben Hunt does, I think is going to be the caveat. And everyone will want to know what Ben Hunt does.
And he said he wants to play for Anthony Griffin. You know, instrumental in getting him down there in the first place.
Well, he'll be playing for the Dolphins next year. You wait and see.
He loves shitting on our team.
I do, just because you took full of it. It's like a 2-for-1. It's like, two birds, one stone for me. So it's very easy.
Yeah, and then we can get you with 2 teams, 1 stone as well. One race stone from Mossvale.
Did you know he was from Mossvale?
Ladder, I can do that. I've got it right here.
Oh, he's got it here. It's right there in front of you.
Sorry.
I think we talked about the bottom. We've got Tigers, Cowboys, and Dragons there at the bottom. We then, I think, interesting mid-pack, the Raiders move up a little bit. Dolphins slide down a little bit. They're now on the same points. There's a big, thick middle pack.
Yeah, six teams on 10 points. Panthers, Storm, Warriors, Dolphins, Titans, Raiders.
Eagles really needed a win to stay in touch, which is good for them. I think we've got some more Sydney teams starting to move into that top 8. Broncos out in front, and then you got Sharks, Rabbits, Roosters all on the same amount of points, followed by Manly, Penrith, and Storm. I assume Penrith and Storm won't finish the season in 6th and 7th.
Some big games next week at Magic Round. Storm and Bunnies. That'll be a cracker. Manly and Brisbane. Warriors get Penrith. They've been playing pretty good. Dolphins and Sharks. So a few good ones to look out for. And obviously,
hang on. That Rabbits and how does that work?
No idea.
I don't know.
Maybe Rabbits has a bye, mate.
Nah, I've got it literally right here.
Yeah.
So the Magic Round games: Dogs, Raiders, and then the Friday night prime time is Manly, Brisbane. Saturday you got Warriors, Panthers, Sharks, Dolphins, Storm, Rabbits. Then game of the round: West Tigers, Dragons, into Chooks, Cowboys, into Titans, Eels, and Newcastle fans do not get a look in this year.
Yeah, Newcastle
on the bye.
They probably just haven't updated the Storms one.
Bring it on. Let's see how the officiating goes next week at Magic Round. Definitely a lot of pundits will have their eyes on that.
A lot of hip drops.
Before we get in the AFL, close that down, go back to the car racing, and then can you switch them?
Oh, we do have back to Baku in the F1 currently in the background.
Switch
Baku
sides.
ground.
So I'm looking more over there than I'm looking over here. And you're going to have to go live on that KO too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy. And then once you do that, you got to press the button.
Too many screens.
Enthralling listening right now.
Very enthralling.
Are we going through that Blues predicted team list? Maybe.
While he sorts your shit out, maybe we can.
I don't know who's written this, but I don't hate it. Liam O'Loughlin.
Well, what are we on? Sydney?
Sporting News.
Anyway, scrolling down. New South Wales Blues could look something like this. Teddy, lock. Graham on the wing with To'o. Tommy, Turbo, Trell Mitt. They picked themselves, obviously pending Turbo's fitness. Nico Hines is gone with the big call. Does Jerome Luai get the drop for Nico Hines? Nathan Cleary, Jake Turbo. 9 will be interesting. This bloke's gone with Appy.
Yeah, I don't think Appy will start 9.
Damien Cook has been playing pretty good for South. Has been an integral part of their success. Payne Haas picks himself. Cameron Murray picks himself. Liam Martin been dealing with a bit of a hammy issue, but I think if he's good to go, he picks himself, as does Isaiah Yeo. And then the bench here is Cook, Junior Paulo, Dale Finucane, and Hamole Olakawatu making their debuts. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty close besides the Appy and Murray. Cook, sorry. And I think if Cook starts, maybe they go with someone else as a 14.
Be interesting. I think that's the big question.
Do you reckon Luai
and
play 14?
Hines and Luai. I see. For mine, if you pick Luai, he has to be 6. I don't think he's a utility. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Sean, do you want to run through the Maroons and give us your insights?
Yes. So start with Walsh at fullback. You got Cobbo and the Hammer on the wings, which Hammer on the wings that may be an interesting one there. But he's been playing pretty good as a fullback.
What's Xavier Coates' injury status?
Yeah, because I thought Coates would have, Oates is going to miss it. Coates, interesting. Of course, Holmes and Gago in the centres. Munster and Evans in the halves. Josh Papali'i will be 8. I'm not sure whether he'll start or not. Ben Hunt at 9, which I think is interesting because they got Harry Grant, of course, at 14. I tend to think it might be the other way around, but they did like that combination last year. Big Tino at 10, Kate Kirkwell at 11, Kafusi at 12, Carrigan at 13, and then you got Cotter, and I can't see the rest of the bench at the moment. Jimmy, Cotter,
Fafita, Collins.
And Collins besides Grant. I'm not sure if Fafita's kind of played his way into that. I'm not sure if Cotter's been playing well enough at the Cowboys for those bench spots. Maybe you'll get some new guys in those positions. But the rest of the team's pretty much what I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And, the question of do you fit Ponga in there somewhere or does he play well enough in the next couple of months to retain his one spot, and then do you play Walsh elsewhere? I don't know. So, but
only a couple of weeks and we get to find out.
Yes, getting very, very close. All right, formation lap back.
Baku's about to kick off, and so is our Aussie Rules chat.
Wrong one.
Yeah, Steph Curry lined up for the St Kilda Saints and broke a few ankles, according to the pod. No, the Power. They've got 8 wins in a row at Marvel, coming away 7 points winners over St Kilda, who had been previously very hot. Travis Boak, speaking of hot, he had 30 disposals and a goal. I saw something where there's it was like a 30 for 30 stat. 30 disposals in a game over the age of 30 times. It's him and not many. That's the story there.
Travis is a good bloke.
Yeah, he's a good bloke. And Tim English like numbers for St Kilda ruck, Rowan Marshall in a losing effort. 26 disposals, 19 of them being kicks, 28 hitouts, 10 tackles. Maybe a little bit of a wake-up moment for St Kilda, although they're still tracking way better than anyone else would have expected.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Sean, did you watch the Lions at all? Catch bits and pieces?
Some bits and pieces, but they dominated. Dockers at the Gabba. The Lions play well at Gabba. Shock. I think, Lockie's kind of starting to heat up. We got 35 in this one. The Will Ashcroft is looking like a great, father-son pick there. 28 disposals and 2 goals for him, and his quick snap off I think it was right boot to get this one.
I think it was left. I think because it's in the left pocket.
I feel like it was
maybe it was right.
I was outside right of his right boot. To
essentially,
get it, but from a ridiculous angle to get the goal.
And it was like a kung fu kind of, flying kick after sort of a quick gather from a ruck contest. Anyways, if you haven't seen it, check out Will Ashcroft goal against the Dockers. Definitely a contender for goal of the year. Monk's bringing it up here. We'll confirm which boot.
Yeah, that looks like right foot to me.
Yeah, it's right foot. Nah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Outside of that, Andrew Brayshaw, pretty good, 30 and 2 in a losing effort. Freo, a long way back from where they've been in the last few years.
Closer, Jimmy.
We copped a few ads. Damn ads. Shut the gates. We have the goal of the year is the headline from Fox Footy. So in the left pocket, he sort of taps it up to himself. Flying kick. Yes, you're right, Sean. It was outside of the right boot. Somehow that goes through. Pretty crazy stuff from the 18-year-old.
I think it's pretty good. Will it win goal of the year? Ooh, I think it might go close, but I feel like might get something better.
Didn't Charlie? I think it might be a Brisbane Lions one because Charlie Cameron scored a worldie one at the Theatre of Dreams Monaco Oval last week. Swans having some kind of hangover. Yes, they got belted last week by Geelong. Geelong really have the number over them, and they go down by a point yesterday in the 25th Battle of the Bridge at the SCG in reasonably wet conditions.
Yep. Yeah, and there's that man again, Toby Green. If Giants are going to win matches, it's on the back of his back, essentially. So his talent.
His back.
Yeah. Kicking.
Look at him, it's like his front.
As opposed to his front of his back.
I was trying to think of usually like it's he's boxing, he's fighting, whatever. I was like trying to work out the analogy for AFL. I was like off his boot. Yeah, I was thinking more kicking and goal kicking, but yeah, his boot. Kicking 4 goals and getting 22 disposals in this. Of course, kicking the main goal to get the win with 42, and it was Swans just a scrappy kind of clearance. They couldn't get it away, and Toby Green just pounces on it and puts it between the sticks. So. Yeah, they win. And Swans struggling a little bit.
Doesn't get any easier for the Swans either. They go down to the MCG to get those hot pies next week. So going to be a very big test for that young Sydney team. And good on the Giants, who've been pretty ordinary really so far this year. But I think they've got 3 wins in their next to their name now. So, they're definitely not the bottom tier. They're
probably just slightly under 500 at the moment.
Bulldogs get a win against the Hawks by 30-odd points. Monks, if you wouldn't mind bringing up some numbers from this one. Again, wedding last night, so my apologies. Didn't really catch much of this or the Demons and Roos. Saw bits and pieces of Carlton. We'll see them in just a minute. As we have the F1 in the background. Is that like a castle or something there?
Yes, that's the castle corner. It's probably the skinniest corner in all of F1. But, being a circuit track, it is very, very tight through that aspect. But then it has one of the longest straights in F1 when they go down the back straight and max out at 350 odd kilometres an hour.
Not bad. So who did what? Aaron Norton boots 4. I imagine someone called Bontempelli probably had a bit of it. No, not really. Not really.
Seems like it's a bit quiet.
No one actually major ball winners really there for the Dogs. Total clearances. Look at that. So all 3 of the major clearance winners were all Hawks. So obviously good work rebounding from the Bulldogs. Let's not dwell too much on this. We're looking at stats and none of us have seen it. The Demons really smacked the Kangaroos.
Shock.
Yeah, maybe the team to beat in the AFL. Monks. Let's do that same fruitless exercise that we just.
You want to go through that again?
Yeah, sure. Why not? What you need is when you bring these up is someone just to really stand out. When you get a bunch of just so sort of performances, it can make for a little bit of lackluster listening.
Did Cheezel play in this one?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he was back. How'd the Cheezel go? Bailey Fritsch kicked 4.
Trucker got 3.
There's a Cheezel. He had 30. He had 30, and Chark and Clary. Look, you probably don't even need to click on these games that you don't watch. Like you probably be like, Clary went off. Track was a ball. Bailey Fritsch kicked a couple, and Cheezel's going unreal for an 18-year-old. Boom, done.
Yeah,
that's it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Next one.
A game that I actually have seen the highlights. I didn't see all of it in its entirety.
You watched it multiple times last night while you were doing research.
That's right. That's right. He's thinking about other women. He's thinking about Charlie Curto. The Blues, 152 to 44 winners over there at Optus Stadium. I thought that would have been the biggest win ever for Carlton in Perth. Turns out it's only the second biggest. They won by 119 points over the Eagles back in 2001. Charlie Curnow boots 9 goals, 3 is kicking them reasonably straight. And Sam Doherty, pretty good story. Right meniscus after all the hoopla that he's had to go through with testicular cancer and getting healthy from that. It looked like he was going to miss maybe 6 weeks, but he actually bounced back after a couple. So don't know if he's just got some good physios or if he's just a tough but he had 24 in his return. And Sammy Walsh, 25 games in a row with 25 disposals. That's the longest active streak by a country mile. I think Caleb Sarong is the next with 11. So if you're after someone for consistency, whether you're a punter, whether you're a fantasy or super coach player, or whether you just love the game, Sammy Walsh for 25 seems like a pretty sure thing.
Eagles confirm worst team in the league?
I think so. I was actually having a chat about this, and I was like, "Oh, we're $1.20 in Perth. Like that's this would be a very Carlton game to go out and like just snake home or actually lose." And then it was about halfway through the second quarter. I was like, "Oh, this is fucking one-way traffic."
Yeah.
I think that's probably the big warning sign is like West Coast in Perth are getting blown out. So, that's showing
true.
big concerning signs, considering how powerful, I guess, that home field advantage has been for a long time. Yeah, it just shows where the club's at the moment. Yes. Spooners.
You reckon? You calling up?
I'm happy with that.
Them, Hawthorn, North Melbourne, you think Richmond maybe lift?
Yeah, well, I think Richmond still have talent and they've just haven't been able to find wins at the moment, but I think they will and outdo the other ones. Whereas I think the other teams like Hawthorn and West Coast, I don't see where their wins are coming from, especially West Coast. I just can't see where a win comes from.
Right into the Sunday games, the Cats continue their good work. I assume they finished this game. Yes, 132-104 winners over the Bombers. Monks, did you see any of this?
Yeah, watch bits and pieces. Cats are just on another level. Like, they started the season slow and they just kicked it right up into sixth gear.
It was, we said last week, wasn't it? It was that half against Hawthorn where they were just like, okay, we're the Premiers now, let's start playing like it.
That's it. I think Hawkins he kicked 8 goals. I think that's his most in a game ever.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, considering how long he's been around.
Yeah, that's it.
Just couldn't deal with the big tall.
No, that's it. Like, he was just standing on a spot and no one was really challenging him for a few of the goals that I saw him kick. A bit worried about Essendon, obviously sliding.
Also, but not pumped on Anzac Day or today.
No.
Like, two pretty good sides, but maybe a bit of reality check as to
definitely.
where they actually are at.
Yep. Yeah. Not too much else to really say about that. Again, we'd just be looking at stats.
Yeah, the Cats keep rolling on and they keep their move up the ladder as they will. So the teams up there will have to watch out coming into a Cats team that's a bit fiery at the moment.
I mean, last few weeks we're always talking about, like, it's still pretty early in the season, like not to be too worried about for Cats supporters, and they've again really just kicked it into another gear and started playing footy proper now.
Suns get a big win over Richmond by 24 points. The big talking point was Took Miller going down last week, lateral meniscus. He had surgery.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a picture of him in a hospital bed, so I'm assuming he's had surgery.
Just went into a hospital bed to take a photo.
Yeah,
hey guys,
you got to get the TikTok, bro. So.
I've got an important announcement. I'm not having surgery.
That gets all the views. It's clickbait. That's what that is.
No talk didn't matter.
No, which was quite interesting against the Tigs, the Tigers.
Noah Anderson always seems to get a bit of it, 32 and a sausage roll for him. And I think Ben King's sort of finding a bit of form now with back-to-back games with a couple of sausage rolls he booted for.
What's wrong with the Tigers? What did they do stats-wise?
I think they're at where Geelong supposedly was at last year, where just all these good dynasty players are just that little bit long in the tooth now.
Yeah.
And then the kids coming through aren't really like-for-like replacements.
Yeah, goals for us, Well, we know they scored fuck all goals in this. They only got 42 points.
Young Samson Ryan, I think we shouted him a beer, or I don't know if we shouted him a beer, but we mentioned him a few weeks ago. He could have a beer now, just ad hoc beer. He's from the South Coast, but... Yeah, they're not doing heaps. Like, Torino's getting heaps of it. Bringing him and Hopper in was big.
Hit disposals there, Jimmy. Yeah, they had two. They had the top 2, but then the rest of the top 10 was all Suns players. So they were just beating to the ball by the looks of that.
No Tom Lynch. Can you chase up Tom Lynch?
He's not in that list, so
injury. I'm pretty sure he got hurt last week.
Yeah, which is a bit of a big loss for them.
You reckon? Fracture in his right foot.
Yeah, that was back at the
Liz Frank, bro.
Yeah, foot fracture, Liz Frank.
And the last game of this Sunday, you have to forgive us for the ordinary listening. Obviously, this has sort of just occurred. The Pies, 1 point winners against the Crom. I think Adelaide were leading from what I could see throughout most of this. And Collingwood coming away. The same thing as last year. They just know how to win those close games, don't they?
Yeah, they just know once the fourth quarter starts, if they're within a sniff, then they just have that confidence, I guess, now that they're golden. They're going to come back and win it. So, they just did the job again. And, of course, they got the Dacosses killing it at the moment. So
Jay Dacos did a bit of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, let's get into one of the biggest days in the NFL calendar, the NFL Draft.
Oh, he broke his ankles.
I think we might have to talk about that man first. Lamar Jackson getting paid the day before the NFL Draft. He got the biggest deal of all time. He didn't get his fully guaranteed contract, but he got the most guaranteed money. I think it was $183 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. A little bit more than Jalen got. I think 185. 260 in total. He'll have the biggest average at 52 mil. His cap hit's not too bad. It's about 32 mil for the next couple of years. So that's pretty good for the Ravens. And I think the Ravens are very happy to finally have that done and sorted. And then, they went out and got some receiver help for Lamar as well in this NFL Draft. But it was good to see that deal get done.
It was a long time coming, wasn't it? There's a lot of speculation on what's going to happen draft day if they don't get this deal done.
What's actually really interesting is he doesn't have an agent. So
and
there was lots of talks like, you need an agent, right. This is why the deal's taking so long. And then Lamar Jackson turned it around and has signed the biggest deal in NFL history by himself. So kudos to the man getting the job done and the bag.
Agents replaced by ChatGPT. Show me the money, G. Show me the money.
Do you want to put the first round picks up there, Jimmy? So overall, the draft was pretty interesting. I felt like compared to last year's draft and previous drafts that it was probably a little bit underwhelming for talent in the first round. Some rumours that a lot of teams didn't, had like 15 guys with first round grades. And I think you kind of saw that, especially in the back half of this draft where it kind of had a big lull in the viewership, but also the fact there was no player trades this year. So all the trades were pick related, which kind of makes you think that guys were happy to keep the guys they had versus trying to move and get a guy as a replacement in this draft. So I think that kind of led that conversation of the draft talent maybe being a little bit unders, but there's always going to be Hall of Famers that come out of this. It is still a lottery, and you'd rather have more attempts at it than fewer. But it seems like some teams thought that's like, let's back some things, and we will do it next year. So leading into this, I guess the other big trade that happened during the week between podcasts for us was Aaron Rodgers officially ended up going over to New England.
New York.
New York, sorry. Started at the end and my brain is just like, that's close enough.
York's in England.
Yeah, New York solely. So New York, I think, got a pretty good deal out of this. They flipped first round picks, and then if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps, I think this year that conditional second becomes a first round pick.
Yep.
Which is probably likely for Rodgers, barring a catastrophic injury where he'll miss the year. I think it's pretty well a good deal. Besides that, there was a second round pick thrown in there as well as, I'd say that was a fifth at 170, fifth and sixth. So it flips there. So it wasn't, I think the first, the Russell Wilson type deal with multiple first and seconds they were kind of hoping for. It was more just a bit of movement and a potential another first/second next year. So I think the Jets will be quite happy with that. By all accounts, Rodgers...
More so than that, the Jets won that trade. Like, it's hands down. I don't know what is going on with Green Bay. If they were just wanting to get the divorce done and just say, fuck it, we'll sign the bit of paper.
Good so.
Yeah. Good
Yes. if Rogers plays 2 years there, that's good. There's nothing to say that he couldn't play another 5, but it'll really depend on his health and what he wants to do.
That's the Brady effect, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
you're a quarterback, you can play till you're 45, bro.
Yeah,
You'll be right.
you do that these days. So
The question I've got for you is, are the New England Patriots, the team that he didn't go to, are they the worst team in the AFC East now?
yeah, well, that's going to be.
I think they are.
Yeah, well, Rogers, you'd say, is the best quarterback in that division now, followed by Allen Tua. And, Mac Jones probably hasn't proved himself enough last year to say where Tua was, outside of trying to get himself killed, was playing pretty well for those Dolphins. So, you would say that. Actually, and if we talk about that, have you looked at the AFC South? It's completely new because of this draft.
Well, let's run through it because 3 of the starters in the AFC South, we're about to talk about them.
So Bryce Young went 1 as expected.
Carolina.
CJ Stroud there's some conversation that, his Wonder League, his test scores weren't good enough. But I think his quote, I don't sit exams, I play football.
It was all misspelled and shit.
Was a big caveat there. So he ends up going to Houston there at number 2. Houston then traded back up to 3 to get Will Anderson Jr., who was arguably the best defensive player in this draft from Alabama.
You like this from the Texans?
I think so.
Yeah.
And he kind of, with Ryans there as now as the head coach, he went out and got his guy for that defense. So I don't mind that. The other fact was they had 12 picks this draft and 11 next year. So I don't think they probably don't need 23 new dudes in the next 2 years. Let's go get a guy like Will Anderson, who is meant to be the best defensive player in this draft, and pair him with a new young franchise quarterback. So I think that's pretty good. Maybe slightly shock here with Anthony Richardson going 4. Some thought Will.
That's combine stock right there, isn't it?
Yeah. And, they've got Minshew on, say, backup money that could probably start in the interim, but they're going to ride and see whether, Richardson can turn into the elite kind of talent that he is, athletic talent that he has. Can he bring that to the quarterback position?
The accuracy is the big thing for him, isn't it?
Yeah. He gets that Lamar comparison. I think he's, of course, bigger than Lamar, but I think Lamar was a better thrower coming out of college. So we'll see. If you've watched any interviews with him, he has a very, deep, sexy voice. It was interesting.
That's what you want in a quarterback.
Baby, Barry White.
But the interesting through the draft coverage was they had his 13-year-old brother on. He had the exact same deep voice, which is crazy because he
was he one of those I am 12, 13-year-olds.
Well, he was like 5 foot, so I think he did. He actually looked like a 13-year-old. It just didn't sound like.
Love you, sexy. Shout out semi-pro.
Yes. So then this started the slide for Levis, and the constant kind of coverage. There were a few teams in here, probably like Falcons at 8, and then maybe Titans at 11 that you thought about, and then it kind of slid all the way to say 23 for the Vikings. But outside of that, then it was falling out of the first round, which is what happened. He went 33 to the Titans, which was, I guess, great value there. They came back and got him. So we got up to 5. Witherspoon, the first cornerback, gone there. Hawks like cornerbacks, so that's not unsurprising. They did find a starting cornerback in the 5th round last year, but go 5th overall for this one. Paris Johnson was Kyler Murray's favourite pick, and he lobbied the organisation to take him, so he got taken.
He was so nervous giving his first interview.
Yeah.
Today junior vibes.
Yeah. Wilson was, I guess, just a solid pick as a defensive player here for Raiders.
I think I was saying that as a percentage, Max Crosby had the most sacks for any team, compared to the other teammates. So he's got a running mate now on the other side with Tyree Wilson.
The biggest head scratcher was probably Robinson to the Falcons.
What's his first name?
We said that before. It's not. I'm just
this.
My head's just like, fuck you, Sean. It's going BJ. I was like, I know it's not that.
I think it's
Bajan. Yeah. Bajan Robinson goes to the Falcons. Interesting. They took a 1,000-yard. Oh, it doesn't matter.
I can't say anything.
Yeah, we'll just stick with Robinson.
Yeah.
They had a 1,000-yard rusher last year in the 5th round. They had, I think, 2 guys get over 1,000 yards last year. They had the top rushing attack, and then they're like 2nd and 3rd in every major rushing category. To then spend the 8th pick on another running back seems a bit odd. Hopefully, he can turn Robinson follows, I guess, that Saquon Barkley kind of model and turns into an elite rusher there. But it's I guess a bit of a head scratcher because they had it there. Aguilera and Patterson got 1,730 yards between them, led the league in rushing yards.
So what does that mean for Tyler Algier and Quaterell?
Fantasy stocks down.
Yeah.
Are they just going to just because they are already a very run-heavy team, and now they've added maybe a generational talent?
Yeah, well, they've added nothing at quarterback. So
they just stack the backfield. They've always got Pitts.
They're going to run the ball 60 times.
Will they move on Algier or Patterson?
Patterson's still good for receiving yards as well.
Yeah, true.
Patterson, they could rotate him into wide receiver and tight end spots as well.
Yeah.
Although he'll create mismatches. I think it's actually probably maybe a product in the NFL at the moment where the bell cow they've been moving away from, but I think it's like kind of they've moved so
Running
far
back
away
by
from not even committee. It's just like we need 2 guys. Every team wants to have their 2 guys that they can cover, especially if one goes down. But every team just wants those 2 guys, maybe slight difference in them.
One's
Your Thunder and your Lightning.
Yep.
But you want 2 1,000-yard rushes. Essentially, is kind of what they're looking at. Guys that can both be 1,000-yard rushers, share the load between them, stay productive and healthy throughout the year. So you'll notice with a lot of teams going that way in the NFL. So then following that, Jalen Carter went 9 to
The Philly Bulldogs.
the Philly Bulldogs. They almost picked the Bulldog at pick 30.
Was the joke?
Yes, that was the meme. That Philly defense, the defensive line is going to be problems. They just keep adding talent to such an elite group. It's going to be very, very challenging. There's a bit of run on offensive tackles in the first round. We had Wright and
Skoronsky,
yes. Go 10 and 11. Gibbs was probably a bit of a surprise pick going 12 to the Lions. They did flick Swift today to the Eagles. Again, another team lighting up in talent. And kind of, I guess he's a ready-made replacement for Swift. Had a very similar sort of game style. Probably a little bit quicker than Swift is, over 40, but will fit in there. I think 12 was a bit high. Was the chat for Gibbs. I didn't think he'd go so high. Yeah, the first 2 high running backs in a long time as well.
Well, pre-show we were having a look at the last few drafts, and there's barely any where there's 2 taken in the first round, let alone 2 with the first 12 picks.
Cool. We got to remember Hall and Walker last year were both second rounders, and both over 1,000 yards. So, you can definitely find talent late. Well, that's the thing. We just talked about Aguilera, who was a 5th round pick and went over 1,000 yards. So there's definitely some talent in that spot. Rolling down, Packers.
I can talk about it.
Avoided a wide receiver yet again.
Well, they could have had their choice of wide receiver because unlike prior drafts, this one, the wideouts was sort of a little bit lower in the first round. I had seen a few sort of mock drafts that did have Lucas Van Ness going to the pack. Big defensive end out of Iowa. His measurables are very, very good, but it seems to be the theme that the Packers, doesn't matter who's going to be the quarterback, if it's Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers, they're going defense with their early pick. There was some speculation that they might have gone tight end as well.
Well, they did. They picked 2 tight ends throughout the draft.
Not with the first round. And we'll get to that in just a second. But he does look like a bit of a talent, Lucas Van Ness here. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes pairing up with a pretty formidable front 7 now for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I guess they're gearing up for winter football. Snow when it's cold, we play defense. And Jordan Love, good luck with not much talent around you, bro.
Rodgers never had any.
Jones went offensive tackle from Georgia, went to Pittsburgh next, followed by Will McDonald in outside linebacker. This is kind of where what I was saying before, the draft kind of started to fall off for some of the the names, the big stories. It was just good talented guys going, but nothing really to knock your socks off. Yeah. Washington may be an interesting pick, taking the cornerback Forbes before Gonzalez, who was rumoured to be in the top 10. He ends up going to New England, and I think they'll be very happy with him. Jack Camblin then goes inside linebacker, he was the first, and it's pretty high for inside linebacker. Goes, stays nearby, goes to Detroit in the Lions there.
How interesting, the two blokes off that Iowa defense going to be playing each other twice a year moving forward.
And Dan Campbell was quite impressed with Jack Campbell's last name. So some Jimmy, what did you think of Tampa Bay's pick?
I don't mind it. Like you mentioned before, there was a bit of a run on the O-line a little bit earlier. I think that would have been the priority.
When Jones went, that was basically the starting offensive tackle's gone in this draft.
Yeah, that's it. And I think Jones was probably the only one that we might have been able to get down there at 19. But yeah, Cansey. Tampa's always like to focus on defense as well, just like the Packers. So that makes sense.
Plus, they've lost a few guys in that position group recently as well. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense for them. Again, like they were able to go back around second, third rounds and pick up O-linemen and tight ends and stuff as well. So.
And then we get into the wide receiver run at start. 4 in a row. Smith in Jigbar went first, followed by Johnston, Flowers, and Addison. So they went to Seahawks, Chargers, Ravens, and then the Vikings. So interesting for, I guess, your fantasy reference. In Smith and Jigbar, we'll have Tyler Lockett and Metcalf there to compete with for feeds. Johnston.
What's your thoughts there with Seattle taking, a guy who's essentially going to be their wide receiver 3, got a lot consensus, maybe best receiver in this draft?
Yeah.
Did they just take the best player available on the board?
Potentially, Tyler Lockett's maybe getting a little bit old. As I said before, with the teams kind of going, they want 2 runners. Most teams want 3 wide receivers now. It's kind of gone away from like having your one elite guy and a bunch of dudes. It's now like we really need 3 guys because defenses play really well. It's all about separation. Getting those 3 really good guys is how you make the difference. Johnston to the Chargers was an interesting one, considering they had Allen Williams already. Josh Palmer had been pretty good for them. I think it's more the conversation Allen's contract. And where that goes, he likely could be on the way out. There'd been rumours he'd be traded. But Johnson's almost a carbon copy of Mike Williams at the moment.
Big body.
So, they like that. Another big target there for Justin Herbert.
Yeah. For those teams, Chargers obviously got Eckler, phenomenal running back, but they're kind of skinny on running backs. Like, they're very much a pass-heavy
and they let
so
Eckler,
it makes sense for them to want to stack.
They let Eckler go out and, test the market. So nothing essentially. The veteran running back market was a bit quiet throughout this one, which is interesting. Why you get 2 first rounders of running backs going. Flowers to the Ravens. He'll have OBJ and Bateman in front of him, and we'll see whether the veteran OBJ and their role kind of is. It'll be interesting. But this is probably it's still a run-heavy team.
It is run-heavy, but I think that's interesting because OBJ coming off a knee, new team, Rashad Bateman hasn't done.
Yeah, well, Flowers is also undersized and will play more slot as
that's
well.
True.
So you're getting the fast, quick guy. If you want, and that's this year. In subsequent years, OBJ might not be there, and then he could be your number 2 getting a lot of balls, 100 targets. If you were looking for this year, Addison's probably the product there as your Adam Thielen replacement and your Jefferson number 2. So, and Jefferson went at the exact same spot, I think, at 23 for the Vikings, or technically 24 if you include the mispick for the Finns. But I think that's a good spot there for him. Some of these guys are kind of undersized, not really true number ones. Johnson was probably the biggest guy, but didn't run. So maybe that's a reason why a lot of these guys kind of will fall down to the back half of the first round. I think Mingo out of Ole Miss in the second was probably the only guy that was like a true number one wide receiver that really tested well. That probably didn't have as much production as he needed. But yeah, it could be a bit of a steal there.
Do you want to go through the names at the back of the end?
Yeah.
Back end there? Or?
Yeah, well, we got Banks as CB to the Giants, Kincaid, who went to Buffalo as a tight end,
which is interesting,
as probably a Knox replacement. Is he was heads above the best tight end in this draft, and is a great receiving tight end. Will fit perfectly into what they need.
Is he a name that fantasy players need to become very, very familiar with?
I'd say so because outside of Diggs and Davis, I think they've moved a lot of their other guys. I don't think Beasley's back. I don't think Mackenzie's going to be around. Knox was injured a lot last year. So, yeah, there's a potential that he could get 80 catches this year. Like if he gets straight into the starting role, he's essentially number wide receiver 3 is what I'm getting at. And
so what's the go with Knox? Is he coming back from an injury?
Well, he was injured last year, so he was on and off last year. So it's whether they kind of, and also maybe getting younger at that position, but they've heavily invested in him. Smith went defensive tackle to Dallas. Harrison, offensive tackle, went to the Jags. They just picked the best offensive player, the offensive line player that was available, get some protection there. BC out of Clemson go to Saints was a pretty good pick.
Miles Murphy, their defensive end, Bengals.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I skipped Miles
That's
Murphy.
Right.
The Clemson guys going back to back was a pretty nice story. Nolan Smith was an absolute steal here at 30.
To the Georgia Bulldogs.
Another Georgia Bulldog, could have been a top 15 pick.
Damn it, the Philly Bulldogs.
Yeah.
My brain then was like, something then didn't make sense in the show.
Well, you said the correct. I was just like, yes, that's the correct thing.
That is correct. It's not what my brain was.
Philly Bulldogs, yes. And then
go on, Sean.
Felix Adike Uzma or something like that.
Felix and Dike Uzoma.
Yeah,
let's go with that.
Felix went defensive end to Kansas City. So, and that was the first round. So, like I said, that kind of back half got really quiet. There was a run on the receivers, which was interesting, but the rest of it was like, okay, guys are going, but it just wasn't as story filled as say previous drafts had been in this one.
You want to talk briefly about our teams? Were you happy with the way that the Broncos went? Yeah,
well, we didn't pick till the third round, but I was quite happy to get Mims as a wide receiver, as a deep threat, ran a 4.38. So he'll add probably a Hamler replacement for us. Drew Sanders as a 6'4" inside linebacker. We'll add value there, probably a Josie Jewell replacement eventually. Riley Moss as a cornerback. I think he was 6'2", runs, was state champion in the 110-meter hurdles, and, is going to wave the flag as, I think, the only white cornerback in the NFL this season. So
yeah, that's not even this season. When was the last time a white dude was playing corner?
We had one last year, but I'm not sure if he's going to go around again. I think we had this conversation. But, he's great measurables, great size. They're going to try him at cornerback.
White corners give me big Ryan Gosling vibes off Remember the Titans. Absolute liability. Had to bring Petey Jones off from the offense to play corner.
I feel since that movie, Ryan Gosling has killed the white quarterback. Like we can blame him entirely for the death of the cornerback.
You can track it. You can track it. Plenty of Caucasians playing corner, and then Ryan Gosling was a liability in the Titans.
Yeah.
Tanked.
Skinner was another 6'4" safety. Massive dude. Torn his pec and probably would have gone earlier than if he'd done that, because he did that in February. And then we picked the centre, fourth site, with the third last pick in the draft. So pretty happy with that. We went heavy free agency, so kind of expected, with some. We'll see what spots there. Bit surprised they didn't take running back for some help there, but wouldn't surprise me if they bring Murray back now post the draft.
I briefly on the pack, we've already spoke about Lucas Van Ness going there with their first pick. And then a run of offensive talent coming in with two tight ends in Luke Musgrave and Tucker Craft, who are both reasonably highly touted. And this Jaden Reed is the receiver that they've taken in the second round. Now, we saw Christian Watson come on leaps and bounds last year, and
Dobbs as well.
Yeah, who was actually pretty low. I think he was like a 7th round or 6th rounder last year. So Dobbs actually went okay. So this Jaden Reed, I don't know too much about him, but I'll run you through him. 5'11", 190, let's call it, out of Michigan State. Any numbers here? 4'4", 13 on the bench. That screams slot to me. And with Randall Cobb, retiring, hanging out the boots, that might be a like for like there.
And they had a fuckload of other picks. In
Yeah,
this draft. They picked very, very heavy. 3 7th.
So many. I'm going to be doing a bit of research here, and I'll just
Clifford was probably the interesting one. The dog.
Fifth round they took a quarterback, so a bit of a.
I'll find out for
Jordan
you what
Love
quarterback he was.
Jordan Love cover for them. I'll tell you about him. He is from Penn State, 6'2", 220, 5th rounder, as we mentioned. Went 11-2 last year for the Nittany Lions, so pretty impressive, and actually reasonably quick as well. 4.62 he runs. So if Love goes down, that might be Sean Clifford.
Yeah, well, he's definitely going to be in that backup role, you'd think.
Now, you said there was a big lull in quarterbacks. Is that what you're trying to chase up?
Yes, I'm trying to find that. There's 14 taken. I'm just trying to work out what number
I might be able to get it here.
I've beaten you to it. So we talk about it. So Hooker went 68 to Lions. Oh, then there was a bit of a run on them. Stenson Bennett, 128, went to the Rams. Sean Clifford was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th quarterback taken. Yeah, Max Duggan was also a pretty interesting one. He was the last quarterback taken in the 7th round by the Chargers.
Monks, you got Tampa there?
Yeah, I do. Again, the rest of their picks pretty much focused heavily on the defense. There were a few offensive players there. Our second pick, Cody Mauch, the one missing
Pirates.
the two
We
front
got to
teeth.
talk about him. Out of Bumfuck, North Dakota. I think the town was Mantador or something. I did put it in our socials. Population 67.
Jeez, I didn't realize it was that small.
Yeah, 67.
Crazy. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. I think by all accounts he might be a little bit undersized, but
he's
still
6'6" centre as well. You don't see too many tall centres in.
Well, he played basketball in high school. I think they said that's how he's.
Oh, is he centre or guard?
They list him as guard, but I think he played a bit of centre as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, any word on how he lost those two front chompers? In the trenches, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I remember a second ago.
And he probably won't replace them until his career's over.
Yeah.
With fear of knocking out any fakies as well.
They were knocked out during a junior high school basketball game.
Oh, he played basketball.
Yeah, played basketball.
Probably would have preferred one of those nut shots that's been happening in the NBA and getting his front teeth knocked out.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Luscious long red hair. He's going to be, awesome. Even just
their last centre, Ryan Jensen, looked exactly like this bloke, plus some teeth.
Didn't
he have really long red hair? The bloke that was blocking or snapping to Tom Brady?
Might not have been red hair.
What was the Pirates' name on
like he
dodgeball?
Steve the Pirate.
Steve, what's Steve?
Wait a minute. There's a pirate on that team. Yeah, Steve the Pirate.
Yeah. Well, he plays for the Buccaneers, and if he ever, he's got his Mad Monday sorted for his outfit, so it's all good.
Oh, yeah.
If that's not red hair, then
that is red hair.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
That's Ryan Jensen I'm talking about. So they like their long, long red-headed, look, for lack of a better term, redneck-looking players.
That's it. Other than that, a few linebackers, few edge rushers, a tight end receiver in there as well.
Round it all out.
Yeah.
And that was really the NFL draft. Yep. There's plenty of other movement, but no real player movement besides the Swift trade, which happened today, flicking him across to the Eagles. And then I think we have mini camps in a couple of weeks. Then we're going to be in the training camps and then in the preseason.
Let's go.
Sticking with the Yank Sports.
Yeah, jump over to the playoffs.
Second appearance.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up. Bang!
Some big sort of news in the NBA playoffs with the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks succumbing to the Jimmy Buckets led Miami Heat.
He's so good.
He is so good. I do worry a little bit about them if he was to miss any time, but had a 56-pointer since our last podcast. He is very, very good at basketball. Obviously, the Giannis injury didn't help, but he did come back.
He played the last 2 games.
And didn't quite look himself.
Yeah, I think he got 33 in the last one, so he was kind of getting back, but yeah, he's too little too late. Well, having said that, the Jimmy B bucket with was it 0.8 of a second or something left.
Clutch.
It was just so clutch, and then to win it in overtime. It just really showed they're coming. I think the Heat will get through the Knicks, and then they'll have a big test of the winner of the 76ers or Celtics.
Yep. Interesting as well with the 8 seed knocking off the 1 seed. I thought, that might be pretty rare. I think this is the sixth time that it's happened. So the Spurs have bottled it once from first.
Well, we'll see it more in the West, but I think we had that conversation of
you just got to be there, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Even if you finish first, maybe you played good team basketball all season. Become playoff time, that's when the stars come out, and then having your big 3 or your big important support guys off the bench, that makes the real difference in the playoffs.
And a big time revenge game as well, because it was the Bucks, I'm pretty sure, last year that knocked the Heat out, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Just chasing that up, making sure I'm not spreading misinformation.
Yep, you are correct in 7.
Fake news.
So big story there with the Heat. The Heat and Knicks kick off tomorrow, our time.
The rest of the East probably went a bit
Yeah.
script. The Knicks were
Script, yeah.
Knicks were too good for the Cavs winning that season easy. 76ers.
Now that's going to be interesting because they haven't played any ball for 10 days, so they
had a
take
very easy, a nice break.
Yeah, they'll take on the Celtics Tuesday morning our time.
Yeah, the Hawks tried, but
Well, they did win a game this week. Ice Tray, living up to his name, sinking a long 3-point shot to take it to a game 6, but then they did succumb there. So definitely didn't do themselves any harm in dragging a couple there from the Hawks. But you'd think the Celtics 76ers with the Bucks out of the East are likely to be the East representative in the finals.
Yeah, the winner of that will. You could say so, but
you like the Heat.
I do like the Heat. Well,
like
I started really leaning into it. With Jimmy Buckets back, their position, their seeding isn't reflective of that team, and they showed it against the Buccaneers that they are one
Buccaneers?
of the. Sorry, we were just talking about the Bucks, the one of the premier.
Steve's a pirate.
Is there any pirate-themed NBA teams?
Not in the NBA, but you've got literally the Pittsburgh Pirates in the Major League Baseball, the Buccaneers, the Raiders. Do they count as a pirate? I suppose they do. Yeah. And then hockey, I don't really know.
No. Anyway, I like you're saying, yes, I do really like the Heat, and I think they'll probably show their skill, really pushing it to the Knicks.
It's a bloody 3 a.m. game tomorrow. That's not much fun. So that'll be an Sunday afternoon one there at Madison Square Garden. And that's probably a good segue into the other game for tomorrow. Let's jump over to the West. Game 7, baby. Light that fucking boom. So the Kings tying it up 3 apiece after the Warriors won 3 in a row to go 3-2. And then they had to go to the Chase Center, that's what it's called, isn't it? In the stadium there in San Francisco, and they get the win. And there's a massive game early tomorrow our time, and the Kings get the home court advantage for the possibility to knock off the Dubs.
But it doesn't get any easier for them because then they roll into the Lakers. LeBron and AD that have been playing pretty well, and Russell's been the third man, been very, very good for him. So
what about Hillbilly Kobe? He's been all right as well.
Yes.
Definitely a fan favourite. And the Lakers, we won't go into it too much. You can check out the start of the show with the mop of the week. But Dylan Brooks really getting put into his place by LeBron, both on and off the court.
Agreed. And the other side, they've probably been waiting around a fair bit. The Nuggets and the Suns, they will play tomorrow. Is that right? No, Tuesday.
But the first Nuggets game was today, so they're actually out to a one zip lead. I can get a box score here. So that was the first one of the second round. Because Jamal Murray had 34,
which is really important because I kind of thought the Suns. I didn't think the Timberwolves would struggle the Nuggets. I thought the Suns more as let's say complete team would be able to take it to the Nuggets. But if Joker can get some support, they can definitely be competitive in this. Up the Nugs.
I'll let you guys wrap up the basketball chat because I'm going to pee my pants. Maybe, just seeing if the odds have changed at all now that we've only got 8 teams left, and wrap that up, and then we'll talk a little bit of cricket.
Yep. Get some odds, Jimmy.
Yep.
Who do we have as favourite to win it all? I'm assuming it's probably going to be Celtics and 76ers, maybe.
That's a strong argument. Just bring it up. Yeah.
We don't need NBA playoff MVP. So Celtics $2.30, Nuggets at $6. Suns pretty close there at 6.5, so maybe we'll win over those. We'll go through. It's interesting. Lakers and Golden State so high, and Nuggets Heat not even in that. They're at 31 at the moment.
Yeah.
So poor Kings are dead last at $34.
But still being said, the West, outside of obviously Boston being favourites, West very heavily favoured to be the conference that could win it all there.
Well, outside Celtics, of course.
Yeah.
But it's very heavy that side to the West coming through.
Yeah. And just going back to conferences, so the Nuggets there are favourites to win the Western Conference at $2.75. Interestingly, while Phoenix was the next one behind them to win the whole thing, Lakers are actually second there to win the Western Conference at $3.30, with the Suns at $3.36. I don't know how that works.
What do you got down the bottom there? Celtics heavy favourites. 76ers, Knicks, and Heat round that out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Besides being, of course, I want to see the Nuggets win one side. I would love to see the Heat come through on the other side. I'm all in on the Jimmy Buckets.
All in on the Jimmy Buckets
story at the moment.
Yeah, like you said, the Heat have got a very tough sort of road to get through, either the 76ers or the Celtics there.
That's NBA. Maybe back in a minute. Let's talk F1. Essentially, Perez is, I think through the pit stops took him back over. So Verstappen's actually behind him. I watched the sprint race last night and I was a bit worried that this might end up being a little train-like bit of traffic. So they shortened the DRS. So I'm not sure if they've actually, there's not as many overtakes. Where guys started are kind of where they are. And besides, say, Hockenberg and Ocon are out of position currently because they haven't pitted. But it looks like there's a big pack there following Ocon and at the moment. 26 laps down of the 51. We're about the halfway point. Baby's back. Let's get started with the cricket monkey.
We are about to talk some IPL, but just briefly, Stuart Broad had some absolute fighting words. Dem's fighting words. He did the classic, you lose a game and you just say, "Oh, it didn't count." It didn't count.
It's Sean O'Malley as well. I didn't lose that fight.
That wasn't a loss. That's a great analogy, actually.
Sweet
Dana,
sweat,
make it
baby.
happen. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Stuart Broad pay good money to see that one. But he said this week, and how much of this is just to get a few nuffies like us talking about it. But he said, in my mind, I don't class the last Ashes 21-22 as a real Ashes. He said the definition of Ashes cricket is elite sport with lots of passion and players at the top of their game. Nothing about that series was high-level performance because of COVID restrictions. The raining, the facilities, the travel, not being able to socialise. I've written it off as a void series. To me, screams whinging.
Yeah.
My social cricket team, the Yams, you have a few beers. If you have a whinge, that's a fine.
Yeah.
So, Stuart, put him down for a $5. That is whinging fine. Confirmed. You can't just say we got smashed in the last Ashes and because of a global pandemic and us being absolutely horrendous in Australian conditions, it just didn't count.
You still turned up and played the games.
Yeah.
So they did not happen.
Yeah.
And
That test in the Goa didn't count for us.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Did not happen.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't lost to India in years. What are you talking about?
That's right. That's right. Did not happen.
Yeah.
Look, so I think Stuart Broad's a pretty smart person. I think he knows that, this is just a bit of hype, a bit of a Conor McGregor kind of approach to it
Exactly.
all.
It's all media beat up.
Yeah, to get a few people talking, but definitely caught 3 Aussies down here, hook, line and sinker,
Yeah,
as he did a lot of our media saying, it's obviously he's just looking for a bit of a headline. But look, you talk the talk, you walk the walk. We spoke about it last week, and David Warner, and what is going to be our best top 6. And Stuart Broad's definitely had the Mickey over us in previous Ashes in England. But it's really set a nice precedent for us, because if we get dicked in this Ashes, no real Ashes, didn't count.
it didn't
Didn't count.
Doesn't matter.
Horrible
Didn't count.
facilities.
Yeah, it's in
terrible
England.
country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Too cold.
Broad was wearing a headband. It just doesn't count. Anyway, it's a bit of a fun one there. Let's talk a bit of IPL, boys. We spoke last week actually about how many runs were coming through. We saw a couple of games sort of in the 220s. I see your 220 and I raise you. Lucknow Super Giants scoring 257 in one of their games. Big Puppy Stoin made a little bit.
CSK made 200 today as well. So
yeah, so pretty run heavy there in the IPL. I think the Big Puppy. I think
we're up
he's got,
to 40.
I think he's got another injury. So right into the thick of things now.
Okada got 200.
Yeah, so looking at some of these, look at these scores, and you mentioned it pre-game. Really, the only team that doesn't really
Score is
Delhi Capitals. But
they won another game. They won 2.
So look at this. This was this week. Gujarat 6 for 207. They win theirs. KKR 5 for 200. Win theirs. Rajasthan Royals 5 for 202, and then the big one, Lucknow 5 for 257. Punjab put up a measly 201 and get done by 56 off the back of Stoinis. And it wasn't just like a bunch of plebs that they were smacking around. It was Kasigo Rabada and Arshdeep Singh, 2 of the best quicks getting around in the IPL.
Yep. Yeah, keep rolling. So Kolkata, they played a close
179. They lost to Gujarat, but then look, Hyderabad 197. So just about every game this week, high scoring.
Yeah, the Super Kings just scored 200 in today with Conway getting 92 from.
Jeez, he's in good form, Devon Conway, isn't he?
Jason Roy as well was coming across as a late inclusion and has been really good. Marks, do you want to pull up the batting stats? Where are we at? So Faf still at the top.
Look at that.
His mate.
1 and 2 RCBs.
Yeah.
Faf and Virat. And Faf nearly 100 runs clear there in the orange cap race.
Averaging 60, bro.
Shubman Gill. Now, I assume that Conway doesn't include that 90 from today. In fact, it doesn't, because the high score there is 83. So he's actually he's hot on the heels of Faf there.
Second.
Rudraj Gaikwad rounds out the top 5.
He probably got some as well today. So
Davey
CSK and RCB are really
scoring some runs. Davey Warner still there, 306. Kyle Mayers, look at the strike rate for Kyle Mayers, 160.5. In that game when they scored 257, he went pretty mental, I'm fairly sure. And Josh Butler's just outside the top 10, but still pretty handy. He's not Josh Butler of last
Yeah, he wasn't last year.
Yeah.
Maxi's
but
there.
No one really is.
Can you find Roy for me? I feel like he's only played.
Yeah, he hasn't played a heap of games, so
I just wanted to see his comparison of averages.
Elevated music.
Harry Brook still struggling a little bit.
Right.
There he is.
There
So
he is.
three games.
That's a pretty good comparison.
160. He's averaging 53 and striking at 170. So pretty handy
Considering-
inclusion for KKR there and Jason Roy.
Yeah, and he's played 5 less games than Harry Brook and scored 3 less runs. So poor Harry, he got a ton, but outside of that, he's averaging 23.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, to score 100 and average 23.
Well, in his other, 7 innings, he scored 60 runs. So
Says me. I say, Harry Brook, I'll do the 7 innings of 0 and you guys score the 100 and then between us we'll call it 23. What do you reckon?
Yeah, evens. And the bowling side,
Purple
not
cap.
too much change. Well, it's all a bit even.
Well, it's all,
there.
very even, Stevens. Mo Siraj, Rashid Khan, Arshdeep Singh, Tushar Deshpande, 14s apiece into Mo Shami and Varun Chakravarthi, 13s. Interesting, isn't it? That
Where's your first international?
Well, Rashid Khan is an international.
Sorry, you're up. Sorry, yes, you are right.
He's hiding in there. Mark Wood. So it's interesting, isn't it? So a lot of the top 10 for sticks,
Well, I was looking for
internationals.
I was looking for international fast bowlers, and
then a lot of the top 10 for bowlers are Indians.
Yeah.
The best of the Aussies, Jason Berendorf, having himself a reasonable IPL so far. He's got 8 poles
from 6 games.
He's a little bit expensive, just a tick under 10 and over, but definitely picking up a few. Akshar Patel as well, need to mention him. Maybe the best all-rounder getting around.
Yep.
He's got 7 poles and has scored a fair few runs. So good to see him doing a little bit. And from the Aussie perspective, his teammate Mitch Marsh had 4 for not many the other night. They're still struggling to get some wins going, Delhi Capitals, but good to see Mitch Marsh back bowling and back bowling well.
Getting 7. Do you want to bring the table up? I think it's still pretty close with Delhi getting onto 2 wins. I think the tops.
I think they're done.
Oh, okay. There's 14 matches, so yes.
Look, technically, I'm saying there's a chance.
Mathematically, if they win out, yes, if they win 6 matches, they'll finish with 8 wins. So it's still pretty tight though. Titans have on 6 wins, and then all the way down to the Mumbai Indians who have 3 with a game in hand for them. So it's still kind of a big pack there. But yeah, you're probably right on. Delhi have they've got a lot of work to do. They really need to start moving if they want to make it happen.
But outside of Delhi, it's pretty close.
Yes,
So Titans have that 2-point lead at the top, but then Rajasthan, Lucknow, and Chennai all on 10s, and then RCB, Punjab, KKR, Sunrisers, and Indians all within 2 points on 8 and 6.
So 6 more, or most have 6 more matches. One will have 5 and one will have 7, but yeah, it is pretty close.
Monks, would you mind bringing up the scorecard from the Sri Lanka-Ireland game? Now, generally on this podcast, an Irish test match against Sri Lanka we're not too interested in, but it was one of the weirdest scorecards that you'll ever see.
I remember checking the scorecard at the end of last podcast, and I think Ireland at the time had 300 runs on the board. Ireland had 300 runs on the board. Oh, that's pretty good against Sri Lanka. Next minute.
It must have been an absolute road. Yeah. Ireland made 492
in the first innings. Yeah, I saw them at 300.
Like, I was like, luck with the Irish, good on them. But Sri Lanka go out and make 3 for 704. So if you were one of the idiots that threw their wicket away at the top of the order there.
Well, none of them did.
That's what I'm saying. Madushka, he threw his wicket away. LBW McBride, 205. Karuna Ratne, he could have scored a big score, but he
got out for
his eyes got big. He scored 115, striking at 86. And then Kusal Mendez He's batting first drop. And look, he goes out and makes 245, striking at 85. Even Angelo Matthews gets in there with a not out ton. Boys,
silly.
Could you imagine the morale when you've got three, when you're looking up at the scoreboard and you think, fuck me, it's fucking 3 for 704. We need Conor McGregor out here. And probably didn't sound anything like that, but you know what I mean.
Well, they're probably happy to have almost 500 on the board. They thought, oh, yeah, we in with a chance
That's
here.
very defendable, isn't it?
Yes. And then, got dicked. What were their Island's top scorers in the first one?
First one.
492. You'd imagine someone tonned up in that, you'd think.
Yeah, there's
Curtis
one,
Kempfer and Paul Sterling and Balburney.
Got 95.
Oh, no, those in Sterling and Balburney, they tend to be household names. They tend to be
the class. They're
always there or thereabouts for the Irish. Thank you. And then Curtis Kempfer, I've never really heard of him. He batting 7 there, made 111.
Mm-hmm. Keeper?
Lorcan Tucker, 80.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
704. There you go, Sri Lanka. Jeez, you would have hated to miss out. It's pretty weird to see a scorecard with all 4 of the top sticks scoring tons and 2 of them scoring double tons.
Did India score 1,000 in one match?
All right, look it up. Highest ever test.
I'm pretty sure it was India.
I think you'd be going back as well. I think you'd be going a long way back. You need something to fill one.
I feel like it might have been a session masterclass and then the rest of them chipped in.
No, I don't.
Or do you reckon that's further back?
Yeah, I think it's further back. And I think there might have been...
Put it on the big screen.
There might have been 1,000, but there's definitely a 900. But in terms of recent memory, I think this is going way back.
Test records.
So we need most or highest innings scores in Test cricket.
Harris wins, victory, most consecutive team, most runs in an innings.
There we go. Yeah, 952.
It's 952.
And actually,
was
look
India.
at that. It was it was Sri Lanka versus India in 1997. But then, as per my speculation, you got to go way back to 1938, 1930, 1957 for the others.
I assume you can't get a scorecard for that game, the first one.
For this first one?
Not from clicking on that, but you could look it up. If you just go Sri Lanka versus India 1997 scorecard in Google, maybe. 97, what are we talking? We're talking Arjuna Ranatunga, we're talking Marvin Atapatu, we're talking Sanath Jayasuriya, we're talking... I don't know if he would have done much with a bat, but Chaminda Vas, maybe a young Murali.
300 or 500
if this is it.
That's it. So the first test, August 1997, India tour of Sri Lanka. India goes out and scores 537. Sachin, your brain wasn't far off here. So Sachin was involved with a big ton in this game. Mo Azruddin and Navjot Sidhu scoring tons as well. And yes, there was a young Chaminda and a young Murali in this one. Murali 2 for 174. Thanks for coming, you chucker. And then Sri Lanka, Sanath Jayasuriya 340 opening the vessel. Roshan Mahanama 225, Aravinda De Silva 126, Arjuna Ranatunga 86. Look at young Mahala Jawardena 66. 6 for 952. They batted for 271 overs. Look at that. Look at the spinners. Chauhan, Kumble and Kulkarni. 78, 72 and 70.
That's real.
180s. It's nearly 3 days. It is 3 days. 90.
There you go. First
90,
inning starts day 2.
Yeah, it's 3. They batted for 3 days.
Well, actually, they batted for 4, according to that.
Yeah, and 3 days in a session.
Yeah.
How good is that? Just a bit of batting practice.
How bad would you feel as Marvan, who got out as your other opener?
At the Batu. What did Atapatu make? Scroll it up. 26.
His partner made 340.
Oh, that's funny. Jayasuriya, I feel like maybe in my head I knew that he had one big score, but 340, that's up there with some of the biggest scores ever. There you go. 500. There's your trivia. There's your trivia. Who will make the 1,000? Maybe the next test between Sri Lanka and Ireland.
Maybe. Oh, there's an Ashes test coming up.
There we go.
On those decks, be lucky to get 1,002 tests.
Jeez. A few war clips in the F1.
All right, let's talk some soccer. I think it's official, boys. I reckon Manchester City
Get the
are
EPL
going
table
to
up for us.
win the league, and maybe some odds
What
over
do we got? We've got 3 matches left.
for
Four.
depending on which teams.
So you need a choke from City is what we're talking about. What's their run home, do you know?
I can bring that up for you. I think
Jimmy
they
gets the table.
they play Fulham at the Cottage tonight. Shaking in your boots. Leeds, who are in relegation danger. Everton also in relegation danger. Then they play Chelsea, so that's about 8-0 win there. And then Brentford. I think they're going to win the league, dude.
It'd be an absolute choke if they lose to any of those at this point.
And we've had that date at the Etihad in our diaries for the best part of a month, thinking, look, if Arsenal can get a win there, it maybe changes things. But they sealed the deal with a 4-1 win there during the week.
Yeah, and I think that was, I guess, the most impressive thing. Playing in a close competition there for the top, and Gunners kind of shot themselves in the foot. Also, probably didn't help that they've gone win, draw, loss.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
capitulated. It's
Yeah.
been the theme of the last few podcasts when we're talking
Let's
English football.
City chase them down and to get with 5 wins in a row.
Yeah. Man City is $1.07 to win out Premier League. Arsenal's at $10.
But based on that competition, I don't think any of them were in the top 10, were they? So Fulham 10. That was only one.
And then you have games against minnows like Chelsea.
Well, they are now. So.
Really just trying to ride this wave of them being bad.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Newcastle and United still locked down their spots. They probably.
I think that's the Champions League spots.
Yeah. Hotspurs and Villa probably, and Liverpool, Brighton maybe still fighting over that last spot.
See,
there.
Brighton
5th.
overnight put 6 in the back of the onion bag against Wolves. It's one of the stories. Like a few of those teams through the mid-table there in the villains, Brighton, Brentford, Fulham. Really playing overs this year.
And then at the bottom, Leicester City is there, Everton is there, Southampton, not Forest. They got a win, didn't they?
Overnight, they may have.
They had a lot.
Won over Brighton and then lost
To Brentford.
I think they were up in that game as well. Safe yet? No, I think, let's say West Ham's probably safe now. It's probably Leeds, not
Yeah, I'm happy
Leeds
with that.
down.
5 teams.
Yeah.
Leeds,
Some big names in there.
Forest,
Leeds,
Leicester, Everton,
City,
Southampton.
Everton. Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say it's who's joining Southampton.
Yes, yeah, I think Southampton's probably guaranteed down there at the bottom.
When's Champions League? Is it this week? Let's have a look. No, the week after. So 10th and 11th of May, our times, we'll see Real Madrid and City and the Della Madonna. I think it's something like that. The 2 Milan teams doing battle in a couple of weeks' time. Let's run into a On The Esky final round. Big talking point before we get stuck into the 288 preview was Bobby Knuckles versus Dricus Duplessis, no relation to Faf, announced for UFC 290. Monks, can you bring up what that card's starting to look like? And apparently the winner will get Israel Adesanya in Sydney.
Yeah, well, Israel's already been calling out a Faf for this one. As probably the last kind of contender in there. There's been some chat about maybe they should actually cancel this fight and book that one. But I think Israel dealing with a bit of injury at the moment. It's a number 1 contender, and Robert Whittaker will probably run through Duplessis, and then we'll have to do that. Is that a third? That'll be a 4th fight for Whittaker and Israel.
Yeah, they've had the trilogy already. Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. And Whittaker, I think, was on a podcast this week talking about. You had your 3 against Alex, had that history. Now it's my turn, kind of thing. So that'll be interesting. That big card kind of starting to take shape there. Robbie Lawler on that's pretty fun. Dan Hooker as well, getting another fight in the lightweight division. So, yeah.
Obviously, the
flyweight championship.
The flyweight championship in Brandon Moreno versus Alexander.
We'll preview that when we get closer.
That's right. This is July we're talking about.
Yeah.
Robert Whittaker and Israel have only fought twice.
So this will be the trilogy.
This will be the trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
The only one that's looking at a quad would be that man Moreno if he fought Figueiredo.
I think Figgy's going up. Figgy's going up, wait.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. UFC
288.
Where do you want to start?
Start at the top. Start at the top. Cejudo.
Triple C.
Yep. Returns.
Mm-hmm.
How long's it been? 2020 is it since his last fight?
Yeah, probably pre-COVID. That makes sense.
He retired and then he got done for performance enhancers before that, didn't he?
No, that was Pillishaw.
So
he beat Pillishaw and then Pillishaw got done in that fight that he beat him.
And Cejudo's never been done?
No. He's an Olympic champ, bro. Clean as.
The only Olympic champ and UFC champ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He last fought back in May 2020.
Yeah.
Dominic Cruz.
Just before COVID went mad in the US, probably.
Yeah.
Right around them.
Yeah. Yeah, and when he had, at that point, kind of cleared out the divisions. There's not a lot more for him to do at that point, so he buggered off. But there's a whole bunch of new interesting contenders in the bantamweight division. Sterling will be his challenge, who's actually kind of really improved in his recent matches. So this is a hard one. I feel like Henry's really, really good technician. The video of him showing John Jones, in this situation, you should switch to here to get an advantage position, and then doing the exact thing to Cyril Gain went viral post that fight. So he's definitely got the mind for fighting. He's been training for ages. He's an elite wrestler. Maybe slightly undersized to Aljamain, but I just can't go past him just coming back and wiping the floor and winning easy. That's just from what we've seen. But Sterling's been been fighting really well lately as well. Really beat Jan and kind of push Jan really back down in the division. So I think that's a fun fight.
Absolute slander. Nothing in Cejudo's record saying anything about performance enhancers, but it's interesting point that
the overlap with TJ Dillashaw and him, having coming down, he must have come down. So I think Henry's actually going up weight for this. Now I think about this, because Mighty Mouse, they fought at 125, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically Henry's kind of coming up for this. So TJ actually went down to fight Henry, and that's where the whole EPO came out of it.
But when he defended and vacated the belt, it was bantamweight.
Yes, against Dominic.
But he had come up previously.
Yeah. So he had both those belts. So he had
correct. Flyweight. And bantamweight.
Yeah.
Bantam. I don't know why I said that. The size difference is interesting that you mentioned. So 5'4" taking on the 5'7" Sterling. So reach is going to be interesting. 64-inch reach versus 71. So he's giving up half a foot in reach to Aljo.
But then he beat Dominic Cruz, who's
also a big man
of that kind of size. So he's just uber talented. I just can't get past that fact, and I think he'll probably show why he's still uber talented.
Do you reckon he's going to go get the belt again?
I feel like it, yeah. I don't know what he does post that with that belt, how long is his run going to be, but he's still 36. He's got a couple of years left. Go and put together 3 or 4 fights in that time frame.
I'm just trying to get some odds up here and see if the bookies agree with you, Shauno. UFC 288. Here we go. Scrolling down. Oh, our bookies, $1.92 a piece. Can't split them.
Wow.
Flip of a coin, they reckon.
Yeah.
Flip of a coin.
Interesting.
It's going to be a pretty close one, yeah, definitely.
Going down to welterweight, I swear we were talking about Gilbert Burns a few weeks ago, and that's because we were. He's going up against Bilal Muhammad, who hasn't lost since 2019, has 8 wins and a no contest in that span. Burns beating hometown hero Masvidal, the king of Miami, in Miami just a month ago. Obviously didn't take too much damage if he's backed up and going to fight Bilal. Boys, what are our thoughts around this one?
It's almost a number one contenders fight. I think Muhammad was pretty close to, in that conversation, to being the next challenger. Edwards doesn't want to do Colby, but there's nothing else really there. And then ahead of these two is Usman. That's really it. And whether you think Hamzat can actually make this weight, he looks like he's going to middleweight at the moment. Usman's rated 1. Sorry, there it is.
Leon Edwards, the champ.
Yeah. So that's the other one there, and I think Hamzat they're kind of looking at elsewhere at the moment. So after Edwards, Colby, the winner of that, will probably get the winner of this. That's how it's kind of shaping up. Burns has been really good. This would be an interesting fight. Unfortunately for me, I haven't either watched or paid enough attention to Muhammad's fights in the past. I remember the eye poke, which was the no contest
with Leon Edwards.
Yeah, with Leon Edwards.
Some pretty big names that he's gone through since then. In Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and a lot of them going the distance. So he's obviously got elite cardio, and he's a Russian, isn't he?
Slander again from you.
Slander. He's Palestinian American.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
It's
see also Bangladeshi independence activist Bilal Muhammad.
I feel like though some of those names, like at the points he fought them, they weren't as highly ranked. So I don't want to say his numbers are padded a little bit, but I think this will be a big challenge for him. Burns can fight on standing up, and he's absolutely a monster on the ground. So it's going to be a pretty competitive fight, this one.
Bro, I got the story. He attended Bogan High School in Chicago.
Yes.
William J. Bogan, simply known as Bogan High School, is a public 4-year high school in Ashburn, Chicago. Yeah, that's funny. You got a lighter? Oh, wait, no, mate. You got a lighter? That's how he learned how to fight. There you go. So odds.
Cookies?
$1.82 Burns, $2.02 Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
The other sort of bigger name is the girls' strawweight, Jessica Andrade, taking on Yan Xiaonan.
It's interesting
Did I
for
say that right?
yeah,
Xiaonan.
probably pretty close.
Why am I asking you?
Yeah, why are you looking in that direction?
Because you can't say white names.
Very true. Very true. I was just going to say, it's interesting. This main card, there's they usually try to put at least one big boy, fight in this.
None.
Welterweight being the heaviest at 170, but everything is under 150, which is quite interesting. Be interested to see how this card does. Especially considering Henry's been out a long time, how they're going to sell that. I'd be interested to know what the undercard kind of looks like, whether there's something else fun floating around there as well. I feel like Andrade, not to, with the history, I think this is actually down for her again. She's kind of been bouncing up and down in the divisions. Will be the monster that she is and get potentially another win.
She fought recently, didn't she?
Blanchfield.
What division was that in? Strawweight bout. No, so she's been
in strawweight for
the last 3.
Yeah, this will be 4th.
Yeah.
Not long in between fights for Andrade. That was only February, so it'll end up being a tick under 3 months. And bookies do have her favourite, although not overwhelmingly short. She's $1.53. Xiaonan Yan, $2.52. A couple of featherweights make up the rest of the main card in Mossvale Must fail. Home of Ray Stone. That's in Queensland.
You're struggling more than I am.
Mosfar, Evliov and Bryce Mitchell and Cron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. Now, the Gracie name is pretty famous in the MMA world. A bit of research here. Is Cron Gracie relative or part of that name? Surely there's
It's a huge family, by the way, so it's potential. Have a quick look.
He is the son of Rickson Gracie
There you go.
and grandson of Heliel Gracie.
Yeah.
There you
Just
go.
the co-founder.
Nickname Ice Cream Cron.
So, yeah, assume he's going to be a submission
I'd
specialist.
say he'd be pretty good at jiu-jitsu.
To have some world go up, grab his grappling record. What's his? He has a few world champions in there, depending what division that is.
I think he won at Abu Dhabi back in 2013.
It says here his trainer's Nate Diaz.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah.
Cron.
No, Nate's like a second or third degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he is very, very good. Choking out Logan Paul lookalikes recently.
I just like that his name's Cron. What's that movie? It's like Daft Punk kind of vibes. Tron. Cron. Anyways, we're having a stretch here, aren't we?
We're just looking at his MMA record. He hasn't fought in the UFC since 2019.
So has he been doing BJJ?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. According to that, yes.
Yeah, it must have been. Actually, no, it hasn't been really active in grappling either, so it's just been out of the game for a while.
Doing Cron things.
A quick look at the UFC today. The big fight was Song versus Ricky Simon, or Simone, probably.
Simon.
Song won by TKO stoppage in the 5th round. And then we had bare knuckle boxing.
Foxy boy.
Yeah, bare knuckle fighting championship. I was trying to work out what the F was.
Foxy.
Bare knuckle fighting championship. It was a bit of a fun fight. So we had Mike Perry taking on Luke Rockhold. Mike Perry knocked out a bunch of his front teeth. So Rockhold, let's say threw in the towel in the second round. Mendez and Eddie Alvarez, another big fight. Conor McGregor was in the crowd for this. Alvarez won a split decision in this.
Lots of big former UFC names.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this was saying it's a bit of fun fight. Beck Rowlands actually lost in this one. A lot of people, she was heavy favourite to win against Ferrer in this. And then Big Ben Rothwell, the heavyweight, had a win as well. Very heavy from UFC ex-talent headlining, Big AFC's 41st championship. I don't think it was pay-per-view. But anyway.
That Beck Rawlings is Aussie, is she not?
Yes, she is. And she was
Has he?
Invicta champ for quite a while. Oh, he found the photo. That's where Luke Rockhold's teeth.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
So him and that Cody Marsh are looking for their teeth together.
Yeah. Oh,
And us in the socials post.
Yeah.
Good from you.
All right.
and
Bit of F1?
I guess we finished with F1. F1 is Baku. So Max and Charles set the exact same time in qualifying, down to the 100th of a second, which is, I think, a first. Max got pole for the start of this race. He's now currently sitting third with the Red Bulls well in front. Perez won the sprint race. Charles was second, and then Max was third. It was a pretty uneventful sprint race, unfortunately. And from what I've seen watching this race, very much the same. The starting order is pretty close to where it was originally. I'll be interested to know if Ocon and Hulkenberg have pitted yet, because I don't think they have, being in 9th and 10th, holding up everyone behind them. But it seems they sure. I was telling Jimmy when you had a bathroom break, they actually shortened the DRS zone by about 100 meters because it was very easy to overtake in the straight. It looks like it's probably been too much of a change, because it looks like it's been very, very hard and very trainy in this, where everyone's just following everyone behind. Oscar Piastri.
Piastri.
Piastri. God, Piastri, yes. And
Pistachio.
Pistachio. Fiddly do potatoes. And Lando Norris haven't moved essentially from their positions. I think Hamilton's moved up like 1. Alonso, I think, has moved up 1. But really where they kind of started is where they are. So what Sainz was 4th, he's 5th. Hamilton was 5th, he's now 6th. Alonso is probably the biggest gainer from 6th to 4th. Like there hasn't been a lot of movement in this. We've lost Zoo and Jack DeVries in this. So looking like Perez with a 3.5 second lead will go on to win this race. There's been a bit of clipping of the walls, but I think it's probably okay. Hamilton, as Lando gets a move done on the guys on the old tyres and finally moves ahead of Hulkenberg there. Hamilton's probably the only other one really in shooting distance to make a move at the moment. Are you chasing up Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift?
Admitted casual F1 fan here. Yes, I'm trying to get a little bit of goss on Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift.
He didn't deny it. He released a TikTok playing her music in the background with a little wink at the camera. So I think he's so in meme culture at the moment. Fernando's just loving it. Who knows if it's real or not, but anyway.
It was pretty funny. I saw a meme video today with all the commentators getting stuck into him as well.
He's been asked about it non-stop. I think he's just loving it, to be honest.
Like he was obviously racing at the time or in practice or whatever, and all the comments they were making on his driving were all Taylor Swift songs.
Having fun with it.
He's in pretty good nick for 41.
The old spin.
You do you, young king.
Yeah.
Or should I say middle-aged king?
He might have had some help in the hair, but...
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
He's got some money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get that Elon Musk money and hair.
You want any fun Baku facts?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
The lowest lying national capital in the world at negative 28 metres below sea level.
Really?
Yes. That's all I got. Arch nemesis of Kazakhstan. That's Uzbekistan. No, that's all I've got for Baku.
So looking at that, Ocon and Hulkenberg both have not changed their tyres, so they will be struggling. A lot of the others, deep runners as well, with 4 laps to go, I don't think anyone's changing. If Perez holds on, I feel like he might be leading the championship, Jimmy, because he got 8 points to Verstappen 6 yesterday, so that's 2 improvement, and he'll get another 7 off the win. I think it's 25 for a win and 18 for second place, I feel like. So that should get him pretty close to making up that difference.
13-point difference as it is.
Well, I think that probably already includes the sprint race in there. So, no, he'll be 6 points behind. But it's closing the gap. They are very much out front. If Alonso finishes 4th at the moment, he will stay ahead of Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc is probably a long way back. He's starting to make a move, racing well. And if he completes the race, he'll be quite happy with that too. From here, where do we go, F1?
From here.
Miami, bitch.
Oh, that's right, Miami. We go across there before going back to Europe, before coming back to Canada.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, do they? They do that. But,
No.
And then they go back to Europe.
but then there's a reasonable European run through there.
Yeah.
And then sort of more...
A bit of an Asian run.
And then back to
The Americas.
the Americas before finishing back in Abu Dhabi. So still a long season ahead. Red Bull very dominant and out to a big lead. Looks like they will win here with 3 laps to go. Nothing much else to say out of that lot. From what I've seen, probably a bit of an uneventful race for this one, unfortunately. So, it wouldn't surprise me if next year Baku they go back to last year's. Maybe they from the 100 they go to the, they'll add 50 metres back to kind of try to push more overtaking in this. Because those cars have been following each other closer this season and last season. Like I feel like the back side of this core of the race track has been more of a following. There hasn't been a lot of potential to make moves. It is a very tight circuit, but it's not quite as tight as, say, Monaco is. But yeah, the down the big long straight was kind of where you position yourself and you make your moves, and without that extra distance, has made it very difficult in this one. So a lot of the cars are just going around, unfortunately. Barring anything big from, say, the middle plaque putting into the wall, that's probably how it will end for this one.
What happened to Verstappen was it last year?
He
blew a tyre?
No, that was the year before. He blew a tyre and put it in the wall. Yeah, going down a straight doing 320, 350 kilometres an hour. Yeah, she's a little bit scary. Oh, there we go. Oscar goes up, takes Hulkenberg into 12th. Got a lot of work to do if he wants to get a point.
That was for this week?
McLaren's bad, unfortunately, still.
That will do us for this week. We have another big week upcoming in the world of sport. Obviously, the NBA playoffs. Who's going to go through tomorrow, Kings or Dubs? Magic round. Hopefully, the officiating is magic this time around. All footy, cricket chat as per usual. And yeah, the EPL seems as though City will be lifting the trophy. As a United fan, let's hope that they don't get the two big ones in the Champions League as well. Hopefully, you're all having a good week. Have had a great weekend. We'll see you next time here on the Esky. We appreciate the support. Check us out on the social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and chuck us a subscription. Subscription on the YouTube, if you wouldn't mind.
Did you see the South had 14 men on the field?
I did see that, yeah.
They're going to get a 5-figure fine, which is fuck all. So they'll happily take that.
5 figures?
Yeah, as in like 50K kind of thing.
It could be 10.
It could be 10. It could be fuck all. So
couldn't be 9999.
No, it'd be 10.
Yeah.
Well, that could be because I said 5.
Yeah, if you include the cents as well, is that including the figure? No. And there was that chat also about the Las Vegas trip. So there's some clubs interested to go over to Vegas to play in the Raiders' big dome there. I was going to say Oakland there, but Las Vegas Raiders was the other kind of stories in my quick flick through of the news.
That'd be a footy trip.
Yeah.
Just what
we need. More bucket list trips. Yeah. And a Tessie pop to finish. All right.
Thank
Thanks
you
for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.